In this now. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Bridge the Gap. My name is Holden Stephan Roy, and joining me today is Enigmatic from the Enigmatic Entertainment conglomerate in the making. Then there's the Immortal Being music group he's part of, and he's been doing shows on the internet, and he's doing all kinds of moves and whatnot. So this is the show though where we talk to interesting people such as yourselves, and we walk through the story of your life, and we extract a couple of knowledge nuggets along the way for the fine people out there. And this is my new efforts of trying this standing up. So it's a little guinea pig episode to see how it goes when I'm not sitting. But I was like, yo, I could be getting like calories doing this shit. Or burning calories, I should say. I digress. To start this off proper, though, Mr. Enigmatic, can you let the people know where you start your life? Because trust, the story is going way back. So that's what's really important for the very proper opening question is that you could let us know just the very beginning part of your life where that takes place.
Shit, man, the very beginning takes place in Mississauga, Ontario. That's where I was born.
Fire.
Like the very, very beginning of that.
Fire, because that's where it all starts with the opening question, and it's a little bit of a story, all right? And I'm gonna go through it, and when it lands, we're gonna start talking, and then we're gonna talk more about you. So it all starts with my girlfriend, and she be washing the dishes one time, and she got her phone open, and she's playing that Black Eyed Peas song, the I got a feeling, ooh, and then she's like vibing, she's dancing, she's doing her thing, and I have this epiphany. I'm like, yo, when in the fuck did this song become chores music? Right? Because if you think about that track, you run that shit back about 10, 11 years, that shit's middle of the night, everybody drunk, vibing music. You run it now, a decade or so goes by, everybody gets a little bit older, the song, it doesn't change at all because it's a song, but at the end of the day, the context that surrounds the song and the environment in our lives evolves so much that now the song has gone from party music to chores music. And that got me
To
thinking.
vibe and doing chores.
So it's like, I got me thinking about music and journeys and times and whatnot. I got me thinking about the little ones, the 20-year-olds out there as they doing their drills and they be vibing out to their stuff. And how they don't know how in a decade what they party to is going to be the soundtrack to their music. And what they also don't know is that when I heard Pop Smoke, I wash dishes to Pop Smoke now. That's just how it goes in the cycle of life.
Yeah.
But with the journeys and the way that things kind of evolve based on where you're at in life, it got me thinking about all the phases of life that happen, right? And when you talk to most artists and you watch most interviews and stuff, you kind of see how most people start this around the adolescent age. Like, yo, I got into hip hop when I was 12, or I started writing at this age, or etc., etc. Because that's when we start to form our identities with music and it becomes more personal and it feels like it's the most interesting part. But really, the whole thing starts a lot earlier. Like when you come out the womb in Mississauga in some hospital, there's a good chance that there's a speaker playing in that room and there's even a song playing. I don't expect you to remember that, but it probably was being absorbed by you at that point. So with that, it got me thinking about our younger days. Like I can remember being like 5 years old up inside of Montreal. And my dad in the apartment, he's got the gray boxes, the amp and the preamp and the tape deck and the radio and everything's got the wires going, everything out to the speakers and everything, busting his Led Zeppelins and his rocks and stuff during the day. And at night it was all the MC Mario club mixes and stuff straight from the Mix 96s and whatnots that we had over the airways. My mom's, it was more like soft rock and the love songs and the musicals and a whole different kind of vibe. And that was like the sounds of me growing up before I had any control over anything. So I was hoping, Mr. Enigmatic, you could bring us as far back as you could remember and walk us through a little bit what it sounded like to be you before you had any control over the sounds in your life.
Well, shit, man, like you were saying, like with your dad and your mom, how they were rocking with all that, like that rock, like the rock and roll music. That was like my dad, man. Like my dad was rocking stuff that usually when I bring it up to people, nobody's heard of it. Like he was rocking like the Bay City Rollers, man. Like I was rocking the Partridge Family. I
Oh,
was
sir, I know the
rocking like
Partridge Family.
yeah, man. Like my mom was heavy in love with David Cassidy of the Partridge Family, so like that one was hella playing like my entire time growing up.
Yeah, I think a lot of my mom liked him too. So like,
He was one of those heartthrobs of his era.
heartthrobs were like real impactful to people. It doesn't come up that
Oh
often.
yeah.
But yeah, like I'm
No,
saying, I know my mom loved Grease because she was really into John Travolta.
dude, Grease Lightning, man. That's one of my favorite tracks out there.
It's a banger. Um,
That
s-
whole movie, dude.
so like when you were young, was like music a big part of your household? Like was like always
Oh
around? And was it?
yeah, man. And my grandma, she's like, like for lack of a better term, she's like a gypsy newfie musician. Like, out in Nova Scotia, across Quebec, we were when we were younger, we'd travel with her like in her RV, and she would just like set up shop outside like Zellers, at the time, Walmart, that kind of stuff. And dude, we would just chill, and she would just peddle these Newfie CDs and just walk away with like fat stacks of cash. I still to this day don't know how that Newfie stuff sold that hard. It was a funny time, man.
Hold up. So you're saying that when you was a little one, your mom was doing the out the trunk mixtape game in front of your face?
My grandma,
Oh, sorry,
man.
your
My
grandma.
grandma
My
still,
bad.
yeah, man.
That's fire.
She still hustles that out the trunk mixtape game. She still does it in like her 70s now.
I guess you could play that flea market game if you really know where you're coming from. You really know where to move it, and I suppose depending on your genre of music, it might still be a hot game.
Dude, the flea market for her, man. Yeah, out here, like the St. Jacobs Farmers Market. When I was little, every Saturday, man, every Saturday morning, I was out there for hours and hours while she'd plug away on the piano, sing, going with the foot pedals on the piano. It was wicked.
That's wild. So yo, what is the craziest flea market slash thing story you got from that era? What's like the craziest thing you've seen people like peddling?
Dude, like shit, man. Like I still go to that flea market today, and there's usually some funny ones. Like there was one guy out there who played like he played like on the pan flute, the one where they're all lined up to the side and you like dude, there was a master of the pan flute out there for so long. It's heavy, heavy, heavy Amish country, like Mennonite country. So like most of the farm, like the market is like that. So when I was little, like they'd want to talk to me and stuff. But now like when I walk into the market and I'm looking like this, they think that like they just try to avoid me and walk away as fast as possible.
I didn't even realize that community was that heavy out in Ontario.
Oh yeah, man. Especially like where we are, like that St. Jacobs area, that is entirely like Amish and Mennonite driven.
I'm not 100% certain where St. Jacobs is, to be honest.
It's like, dude, like if you've been to Waterloo, man, it's like 10 minutes out. Like it's right by Waterloo.
Okay, I sort of know where Waterloo is. Like on a map, I know where Kitchener is a lot more than I know where
Yeah,
Waterloo
man. So
is.
like it's like right near there. It's so close to it. It's so nice. But that's what's funny, man. Like I ended up in this area and I was born in Mississauga and my grandma was already dragging me out here every weekend. I didn't even know I was gonna spend a lot more time out here.
I wonder if there's like a correlation, like your grandma like planted these seeds when you were young and all these great memories, and it was like this attraction to this part of the world, like just brought you there.
Yeah, man. And the music, like that's one thing I always remember growing up was it was either, grinding away at hockey or I was with Nan and Nan was peddling her music. I was in Nova Scotia, she was peddling her music. It was a wild time growing up.
And so you were into hockey, and you guys was all music hustlers. Was you up to anything else when you were little?
Nah, man, that was music, hockey. Honestly, I think that's what I was when I was little. That's what I am when I grew up. Hell, man, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh. Of
Woo!
course, those were, dude, Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh still to this day stand strong. Those ones you can't fuck with them.
Um, that's fair. I have a harder time with Pokemon, and I'm not gonna lie, I missed the Yu-Gi-Oh train. The anime was not that good to me, and I didn't have the card game to go with. But I watched people play the card game, and they made it look real fun. And I like how they used giant ass numbers, so everything felt so dramatic when you came.
Dude, I'm one of those people in the Pokemon era that if you want me to slap down that card game, I ain't got no clue what's going on.
In the Pokemon era, I was all about like just blue and red, and then gold and silver, and just playing those
Yeah,
games
man.
to death.
Oh God, and then when they rebranded them, Fire Red, Soul Silver, all that stuff, dude. Oh, I played those ones as well hard.
I did too. I had Soul Silver. I went heavy on it. It was Black 2 was where the problem came. My Nintendo
Yeah,
DS was in my pocket with my Black 2. I had just transferred all the legendaries from Black to Black 2. You know how it goes. It's gone. It wasn't in my pocket no
Oh
more.
no.
I couldn't play Pokemon again for the rest of, like, I can't do it, man. It was like, because you know how it is. That's like 8 years of like
Yeah.
carrying shit over, and then it just
And then in a moment, it's
there's
gone.
no cloud.
No, I feel that all the way from here, man.
So like when you were like, at what point then like do you start to get into music more for like yourself? Like do you remember at all like maybe what your first favorite song was when it wasn't so much your parents or whatever, but it was like your kind of became attached to
Yo,
it?
the first one was definitely Almost Easy by Avenged Sevenfold. That was the first track.
And do you remember how you got
Fucking
exposed to it? Like how it came into your life?
yeah, man. Uh like that one I remember was like big, like because like in my household it was just like what my parents listened to, right? And then do you remember Rock Band?
Yes.
Dude, Rock Band dropped, and like that changed my life, man. Like instantly I was playing like because I loved music before that, but then like when that dropped, like I would always shred Guitar Hero, but I was shit. I couldn't do it. And then that dropped. And then like fucking the drums were there, and I was like, "Yo, what's this wizardry?" And I started smacking the drums, and that's when I found out that like that's what I had to do. Like everybody in my life was guitar, 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 and I was not meant to play guitar, man. Like my fingers don't work like that. Like these sausage fingers are too fat for a guitar, man. And I never had skinny fingers; they've always been fat. So like when I started playing drums, I was like, shit, like I just gotta hit like right there. And from hockey, like my hand-eye coordination was great. Like I already loved that. So looking down, you can smack whatever direction on a drum you want.
Mm.
Whereas like playing guitar, I'd have to sit there and like stare at my fingers like that. And like I had no idea what the hell was going on, man. And even then I couldn't hit the right notes.
Yeah, I feel that. I had just learned to play bass, like actual bass, when Rock Band drops, and I couldn't play there was too few buttons. It was like, what the fuck? I don't know how to adapt to the 5 buttons here, and I just kept like fucking got the drums. Oh, nah, I have my place in
Yeah,
Rock Band.
man.
I think we had the Guitar Hero World Tour though, so that was the one with the 2 cymbals and the 3 instead of the Rock
Yeah,
Band's
dude.
4.
Dude, I went crazy on all of them. And what sucked with Guitar Hero, man, was it wasn't like my whole friend group like really sucked. Like two of my friends, like my best friends, were like the Korean kids that would like smack the first note on Through the Fire and the Flames and then just smack the guitar afterwards like that. I had two of those buddies that would just go crazy on Guitar Hero. Like they were just unbelievable. And then I would sit down and I'd fail the song in like a minute, and they'd be like, "Oh, give me the fucking guitar." And they'd snatch it back, and I was like, "Oh man, fuck this game."
So how old are you when you got Rock Band?
Oh shit, man. My memory is foggy. I think that dropped in like 2007, so I might have been like 11. I might have been like 10, like that age.
Okay. So at that
And
point,
then,
you got like the Rock Band, but you also then are one of the youngs that got to more or less have access to YouTube around then too.
dude, all the Weird Al, man. Oh my god, that was a disgusting amount of Weird Al I'd listen to when it was all out. Because like in my house, like I was saying, man, it was never like like my dad knew like I knew one Eminem song, man. That's all I knew. The first time I heard anybody, I was just talking about this the other night actually, which is funny because the first time I ever heard like the N word get dropped in music, man, that was Kanye West Gold Digger. And think about when that came out. Like dude, I probably heard that when I was like 9, and I just like froze, man. I was like a deer in headlights, and I was like, "Yo, we gotta turn this off, man," because I was just listening to so much like Queen and stuff. I was just like, Justin, man. I was like, "No, we gotta turn this off, man." And because like my dad listened to like "Lose Yourself" was obviously the song that he knew, and other than that, like it was the Queen, it was the Boston, the Chicago, the all that stuff. So when that one hit, I was like, damn, dude, we got to get this one off quick.
Yo, but what's super nifty is, if I'm not mistaken, what you were going to is like, because you grew up with all the classics, Weird Al fucked you up.
Yeah, dude, and it was funny because like the Michael Jackson tracks would hit, And then like you'd hear like him do like the fat, like, you know, I'm fat. That one would
Yeah.
hit, and I'd be like, oh my god, this is great.
No, it really was. You know what? I have to say I have a good. I don't. I never think about how much I liked Weird Al as a teenager. Like I didn't know him before then, but he really had this like wave, and then like the polka tracks would come out and kind of like fuse all these different shits together that you wouldn't expect, and like. Nah, I get where you're coming from. I listened to a lot of those classic jams, and then it would make me like go back and look up the original songs because it was kind of not always
Yeah.
available for me. So like I think that's wild that you bring him up. So is he like an early what favorite for you?
Yeah, man, especially for the YouTube era. Like man, I think it took God years and years and years and years after I heard Amish Paradise to even hear Gangster's Paradise. I didn't even know what that was, man. White and Nerdy.
Ooh.
Like what's the track White and Nerdy?
It's
Riding
Riding
Dirty,
Dirty.
that's it. Yeah, man. Again, years and years and years until I heard that one. It was just I was so addicted to Weird Al for a period. It was funny.
Ah, makes sense. So like, were you like just what? Did you have YouTube when you were like single digit ages and shit? Like, were you like in elementary school with
Yeah,
YouTube?
man. I had YouTube like because my dad like when like in Mississauga like I didn't touch a computer because I was like young. But then like when we moved out this way, I was 7, and then like my dad had his little office, and then like at 7, 8, like I was watching YouTube, playing RuneScape, listening to the Nickelback in the
Word.
background, all that stuff.
How far did you get in RuneScape?
Oh, dude, that's questions that don't need to be answered
Just
for
like
my
you were one
sake.
of those dudes that would be like, all right, I'm at level 49 mining. I'm going to sit here in front of the computer for the next 14 hours mining that one resource.
Dude, when I got older, man, like sometimes with World of Warcraft, like especially when I'd be smoking and like I just have like metal on beside me, I'd play for like 32 hours sometimes, man. Like I got a really like, I want to do it and I sit and I do it mentality. Sometimes it really screws me over, 32 hours of World of Warcraft isn't really good for anybody. I don't advocate that, but
I think a lot of people did that though when World of Warcraft dropped. Like when that came out, yeah, a lot of people got heavy into it because there was a really weird time in gaming because there was no internet to help you. You just had to spend
you had to.
32 hours figuring shit out and whatever.
Yeah, man, and some of it's like the finest little detail that you thought you read over it 60 times, and then you go back to 61st, and you're like, I'm a moron.
But yeah, so basically you got the YouTube when you're young, so you're just able to just cruise whatever music you want from like about that age without like any limitations because basically everything's available.
Yeah, man, it was a blast. Like the early ones were like and it's weird like Rock Band really like that track list like that because obviously the stuff on like Guitar Hero 3 like those ones I knew most of the tracks. It was older stuff, my dad knew it, but then when Rock Band smoked down, it was a lot more metal and like bands I never heard of. So I just got addicted to like pulling up like Blue Oyster Cult, like that kind of stuff. I got addicted to Disturbed. Like I was like, yo, what is this madness when I heard that? Because on the same note, dude, when my grandma, this one that toured around, man, when she heard Disturbed for the first time, she told me to turn the devil music off. Like that's my family, man. So like that heavy stuff was never in my household, and I got to yeah turn that devil music off.
Like the literal one. What's up, Bionic Pixie? And yo, I missed that. What's up next, Apollo 21? Welcome to the stream. So you have the YouTube era. You're able to explore the whole landscape of music, and you have all the time in the world to do so because you're like 10.
Yeah, man. But that's where I got myself trapped in a loop where I found albums that I was just so in love with that like I would loop albums, man, like on repeat, on repeat, on repeat. Like my before hip hop, like my circle of artists I would listen to was like this. Like it was really like like it would be across the board, but it would be like one song from this guy, one song from this guy, one song from
Was
this
like,
guy.
was there like a social element to music in your high schools and whatnot? Were y'all like bopping around and
uh
talking about it, or was it more of like a personal thing for you?
Yeah, it was more of like I had a buddy, like I still have that buddy, Eddie. He always comes by, and we were talking to, throughout high school. He loved the metal, I loved metal, but that's where like I wasn't listening to a lot of it, but like shit, man, I don't even know it came out, but like a lot of like Lil Wayne, Drake. I heard the tracks, man. There were some that I fell, obviously in love with. Like what's that one track by Drake and Lil Wayne? Oh, I can't remember it. It's
Like those two have
dropped
a
on 2009.
yeah, like they have a lot of
Dude,
songs.
you got to get that. You gotta get that. Like, what's that guy's name on Joe Rogan, where he like searches shit up in the corner?
Mm. Well, like
What is it?
if ever it's done, my girlfriend's kind of half there for that purpose. She's like, I could see her. She's there. Shut up,
Dude,
bunny.
right above it. That was it.
Oh,
Do you
right
remember that
above
track?
it, the do 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 do,
Yeah,
the one from the sports show.
I fell in love
That
with
was the
that
one from
track. I love.
Ballers, right?
I think so. Yeah, man. That was a sick one. And then one I really fell in love with was That Ain't Classy by Classified. You know that one?
Yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna lie. When that dropped, I was all about that shit.
Yeah, dude, that's a sick track. Not too many Americans out there know about that. Yo, y'all go check that. That's a really sick one.
That's classified. Canadian treasure.
One of the best, man. One of the best.
But so you're in high school then. Let's say, are you like getting at some point? Do you start to get like more interested in creating music, or are you still just kind of a fan and running that sports game?
At that point, yeah, like it was like at that point, like when I was 16, I started writing a book, and that was like that. Yeah, man, that book is big. Like that's a big fucking big hoofer of a book. It's shit. I don't remember the pages, but I remember this always sticks in my mind. Like the book is 110,000 words, and the first Harry Potter is about 78,000. So like it's a big book, and like I edited it like time and time and time again. Like I paid a good chunk of money, and then like when I was older, somebody like a buddy of mine recommended put all these words into music because like I played drums like like you're saying like in high school. That was it, man. Like drumming, 100%.
Before
It
we go
wasn't so
into the
much.
music, you wrote a book.
Yeah. That one's on the back burner. It has been for a few years. Ever since I started like my very first 16, I haven't opened the file again because that was a lot of weight. The market for authors is much more like it's much smaller, especially when you have like the next Lord of the Rings. Hopefully, when it's that kind of deal, like it's a very niche market. You either get picked up or you don't. And I was losing my mind, and like the guy that yeah was coming over, he was just like, yo, write a 16. And I was like, yeah, I might try that because like the book is amazing. I love it, but
What's your book
it's
about? I'm sorry, we gotta talk about your
dude,
book because that's fire.
yeah, that's like that's a story. It follows like it's a cool I gotta figure out how to describe it, like not like I'm so high, but like
You
it's a
good?
book where like early age conscription kind of hits like this one little area because there's like a like a but it's old school fantasy, man. And like early age conscription hits because there's not enough people to man the armies and whatnot. And then it just kind of sends like this one kid that like kind of has been waiting for his destiny moment onto like this spiraling story, not the one that you'd ever think is going to happen. Like sometimes for the twists and turns, I'd sit down for like 2 weeks. I'd do shrooms. I'd do a massive amount of mushrooms and like just kind of like contemplate it in my head while I was high, and then like come out of it and I'm like, this is the twist. I'm like, this right here is the twist. And it would be hilarious, and I would just be writing and writing and writing. Some of it when I go back, man, like it's been so long. When I write it, I'm like, yo, I'm like, who wrote this? It wasn't me. It's sick. I'm gonna get the guy that I in my duo, Liam. He's much more of a wordsmith than I am. Like I think he's one in a million, one in a billion, man. He's crazy, and he's gonna go back through for another round and smoke up, the editing, give it a bit more flair here and there, and then we're gonna. One plan I had when we started the label, like, was it's not just the label, Enigmatic Electronic Entertainment, was I want to get some publishing done.
Mm.
I really want to, because that's an area I know a lot about. Is getting books, like, getting books made, getting books made right, not, like some piece of shit. Like that's what I was doing before any of this music stuff, was I was working in a print shop. So like for like a chunk of my books, like I got like I think 30 of them one day, and I only paid like a bottle of whiskey for them.
Hold up. So you know the ins and outs of the print shop industry.
Oh God, yeah, man. I could tell you, like, if you brought me a book and it looked wrong, I could tell you exactly what the hell the guys did wrong with it.
That's wild.
And that's where, like, that shit is so meticulous. And that's where, like, it's that process that I learned working with, like, World War II era German machinery. A lot of it's German, man. And a lot of it, like lefty loosey, righty tighty. That shit ain't lefty loosey, righty tighty, man. It's righty tighty, lefty loosey, or whatever,
The
the vice
opposite,
versa.
yeah.
Righty loosey, lefty tighty. That's it. Yeah, yeah. So when you go between the machines in the workshop, you'd be like, you'd be like stumbling around, and then you'd be like looking at the machine, and you'd be like, shit, is this one the left or the right to tighten it? You don't want to run away too fast.
No, I hear that. I would get real fucked up having to work on machines that had it all like not the directions I'm accustomed to. But that's wild.
Yeah, man.
So like you have one of those books that's like those like back in the day times when it was like you would get the 5-part series, or like Terry Goodkind or one of those motherfuckers, and the little dude
Yeah,
would run through like a million adventures while the world happens around him, and then at the end he's the superhero dude that saves the day.
dude, but that's like the thing, man. Like that superhero thing that saves the day. Like that's not ever been like my life. So like the book, like it takes turns. Like I don't like,
Okay.
dude. I'm gonna say like, straight up, like going into the future, like I don't even know, like if the lead character I have is the lead character by the end of this. Like he might not be kicking it by then, man.
That's wild.
And one book might end with one character's eyes closing, and the next book might open with the next character's eyes. The first breath from a new character, your new lead, stuff like that, man. Like I don't want conventional stuff.
But to be fair, that's also mad classic fucking fantasy.
Yeah, man, because like especially if it's gonna be something that if the twists are gonna work out and the turns are gonna work out, you gotta have expendable characters within there.
Yeah, you have to kill somebody. Somebody has to die in fantasy for it to be like you gotta have
So
that.
even the main character sometimes.
It's just the rules of it all. So basically, you're doing this whole book thing, and that's your consumption. And like you're gonna be an author, man. You're running life. You grinding it at the print shop, and then your man's is like drop a 16. And when did this happen? This pivotal drop a 16 moment.
Uh, Dude, this pivotal one happened like not even too many years ago, man. Like 2018.
Mm,
Because like I was saying, like before that, man, like I like writing. I wanted to write I wanted to write a book, but with music, I was doing drumming. Like I never thought of jumping to be like the leading man. Like I like a lot of drummers throughout history. Like I like a lot of singers, guitar players, whatnot. But the drummers are the ones that like really really hit me, especially the ones who like kind of revolutionized what they were doing. That was really really cool shit.
yo, shut up, preach for the host. Sorry, I heard the dingling again. Sometimes that shit be throwing you off when you do it in your stream. You're like listening, you're like ding a ling a ling. Oh yeah, I'm live on Twitch. So, were you like actively in bands and stuff while you was doing your drumming?
No, I just did it with a lot of buddies because like more of the stuff that I was doing, like the metal that I like in our area, it was much more of the like the emo screamo metal, which like I'm not opposed to, like, but if I like if I want to listen to screaming, like I really want there to be some nice clean vocals in there. And around here, like like there were only a few bands I liked. There's still bands I listen to, man, but like they were never ones where I would have ever like they had their drummers, they knew what was good. And like like I wasn't like I would drum on my own a lot because yeah, man, like I love hockey. Like that's what I was doing a lot of, playing a lot of goalie, 3-4 times on the ice per week, and playing drums in the background because that's what I loved, man. My neighbors didn't, my family probably didn't love it. Nobody else loved it, but when I was on the it was fun.
That's wild. So you're a book writing, drumming, hockey playing dude who works in a print shop, fucking meticulously learning how to use German machines to do bookmaking correctly. Learning all about that shit.
The worst part about the German machines is like also trying to decipher those without even knowing German, man, because some of their diagrams are so bad. Oh my god. Yo, the barber, if you watch this, that's our German producer. No shade to the Germans. The machines are just kind of wonky, man. They work good, but they're wonky as fuck.
You probably are from another time, man. But I don't know anything about print shops. Either way.
No, to this question right here for which authors, hardcore J.K. Rowling, that Harry Potter world, and just how like detailed every single little detail in that world. I was captivated. I was like, holy shit! Like this is legendary. Like the smallest little stuff, just instantly like because yeah, you can read Lord of the Rings, but you got to really you got to set some time aside if you're gonna read that. Like that is a lot of over
Nah, bro,
uh
let's be real.
not
Lord of the Rings is
but
fucking work. Nobody needs 3 pages on elf bread. I'm not making that
that's
up.
it,
The
yeah.
elf bread is
Overly,
3 fucking pages long.
yeah. That's the issue with that one. Like, fuck me, man. Like I can't remember the Narnia series. Who wrote that at the moment?
Fuck. Narnia
Let me
is.
look this up real quick. That's by who's the author? Oh yeah, C.S. Lewis. That's it.
That's it. I mean, I hear you. Some people love the elf bread thing. I bring that up. It's super polarizing. But for me, it was like not my favorite part of Lord. Once we got past the first half of the first book, I feel like Lord of the Rings starts to pick up. But the first half of the first book was very hard for me.
Dude, that's like where artists will release like their album and then they'll have the deluxe. Like there really should have been like a Lord of the Rings version for everybody who ain't willing to invest weeks and weeks of their life to read it.
But no, that's fair. C.S. Lewis's World. I've never read it. I just fucking played the video games and I watched the Disney movie. I don't think I ever read their shit.
Which one? The Narnia?
Yeah, that one. And then
Dude, the Narnia one? Like the first book is so trippy because obviously like the kids they just stumble into the wardrobe, right? Dude, like oh man, my memory is so bad. But basically like there's a land of like 1,000 portals, man. And Narnia is just one of the portals among the 1,000, and the kids like stumble into this, and to get away from, I believe, like the Wicked Witch, dude. I could just be making this up in my head, but there's
no,
a
there's
thousand portals.
definitely a Wicked Witch. Also, that part, or
Yeah,
at least a bunch of frozen people somewhere.
dude. I think they go into her world, pop back into the 1,000 worlds, like the world with 1,000 portals, and then they bring her to Narnia, and then that's how it all starts, or something like that, man. It's a crazy prelude to the actual story, but you got to read it. And it's like a little thin one. Like you can get baked and read that in an afternoon. It's a nice little fun read. But I'm probably not giving the story justice. But it's
Nah,
a really cool
I've
one.
only ever heard good things about the C.S. Lewis stuff from like the books. I've never heard a
Yeah,
person say bad things about them. Um,
because the writing is crazy and it's not so overly descriptive that like if you really just want to read like a really dope piece of literature in an afternoon, every single book is like that thin. There's like 8 of them, but you can crush them all like in a week if you just want some light reading, just some nice fun. You don't have to look up words because this author's using a thesaurus and shit like that. Like smooth reading, smooth reading.
that's
Dude,
hilarious.
like in the Friends episode with Joey, like when he uses the thesaurus when he has to give like Monica and Chandler the adoption letter, and he says like from my large hearted like aortic pump or something like that, and she's like, what's that? And he's like, that means my heart. And then it says something like little monkey at the end. She's like, what's that? And he's like, oh no, he signs it little kangaroo. She's like, what's that? He's like, it's Joey.
That's funny. That's fucking hanging. That's hilarious. But So you're running all of that, and then you get to the point where you in 2018 are like, nah, we're gonna start rapping now because the drummer heroes and stuff are there. But then your boy pressures you into writing at 16.
Dude, and he introduced me like because I heard a few tracks, but I never really sat down to really like listen to hip hop the way that I loved metal. I would listen to stuff like the Point of No Return, Immortal Technique. Like I love that track. Obviously Fort Minor, with Mike Shinoda. I love that. There was a lot of tracks that like sprinkled out, but then I sat down to that Immortal Technique. Oh, what's the Revolutionary Volume 2 or whatever like that, man. And I sat to that album and I crushed it. And I hit Dance with the Devil. And that track, man, when I hit that, I was so high when I listened to that. And something just like clicked, and I was like, "This is like," I can write like because I had like like a little 16 under my belt, but then I heard Dance with the Devil, and I was like, "This is something different from anything I've ever heard in hip hop." I was like, "Where do I keep going from here?" And then I got like my buddies like listen to R.A. the Rugged Man, and I listened to R.A. the Rugged Man. Then like I'm listening to R.A. the Rugged Man, and I'm going through tracks. Then I find Ill Bill, and then I'm like, shit, well, what the hell? I look up Ill Bill. Ill Bill has a brother, Necro. I'm like, whoa, Necro slays horrorcore. And man, it was just a snowball that never ended. Like, listening to that first Immortal Technique one was just insane.
That's wild. And it's wild how like it almost feels like an algorithm in the way that you described it. Like I could almost feel like a recommended bar pointing you in the next direction.
Dude, I could keep going like that, just keep spiraling and spiraling. Like, so many different artists. And that's what it was. Like, in metal and rock, especially, there's tracks out there, where it's like a collab, like you bring in the singer, you bring in this. But like when I started really digging in and diving into like what hip hop albums were and what they were composed of, and seeing just the amount of features in it, I was really interested. I was like, this is something else. Like I've never, like, dude, I like old rock, I like metal, I like symphonic metal, I like all of it, but there's never that collaboration effort. I've never seen that before. And so like I
Like you're
obviously knew
saying
like
like
feature.
between like bands and stuff, right? Like
Yeah, man. Like, you're not gonna bring two drummers, right? Like you're not gonna bring two good, like you're not gonna line up four guitar players, and like obviously you can get the lead singer in, you can get that kind of collaboration. But if the lead singer comes to collab and he's like, "Yo, I want to bring my drummer," then one singer just has to be like, "Yo, buddy, you gotta go," and then the dude's like, "Well, I don't want to leave. This is my band."
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know it's like happened before, but like when I think about it, it's like really fucking rare. Like it's not a
Yeah,
common thing.
there's and then in metal and all of that, it's more like more. You create a project, like you bring a drummer, you bring the guitar players from this band, you create your sub project like that. There's obviously ones like David Bowie and Queen, right? Like Under Pressure, like those kind of things where it's not so much like a feature, but that's like a heavy David Bowie collab, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then like I get over here to like this genre, and I find like nobody's heard of these guys, man, but Snow Goons out in Germany, they're this unbelievable German production collective. And like when I first got tuned in with their album, because they're a production collective, like one of them, Sick Nature, he raps. But like holy shit, I started going through that, and I was like, there's too many artists here. And that's why now I have the Spotify playlist where one of them's at 10,000 and the other one's at 1,000, because I hit the limit on the first one.
Wait, there's a limit?
Yeah, man, there's a limit to how many songs you can download as well. Afterwards, every time you open Spotify, it just kindly reminds you that you cannot download any more songs unless you delete the downloaded songs you already have.
So the limit of songs on a playlist is 1,000?
10,000.
Oh,
That's the
10,000.
absolute. I heard rumors. I heard rumors about 10,000, and then I got there and I tried to add 10,001, and it said no, don't do that.
That's wild. Okay, that's still like a big playlist volume. It gives me like some insight into what's possible then, because like I guess I assumed there was a limit, but I never thought of anyone trying to like do that. Like, why do you have 10,000 songs on a playlist? I mean, I don't.
Well, first it was like everything that because like with hip hop, I was going through and like
Oh,
like
okay.
with some, like, when you do it for so like obviously when some artists do it for so long, they have that engraved sound, and it's not like rock and metal and all that stuff where you have to kind of be diverse as a band on an album, and sometimes you have like really really low hitting songs and like the album sucks in general, but then they have this one track that just absolutely just top the charts and shit like that. But then I came over here and I'm like, I'm looking around, and shit, man, I'm so high I forgot my point while I was in the middle of
You
it.
were
What was I
talking
saying?
about how 10,000 songs because you were adding everything, and hip hop
Oh
groups have
yeah, yeah, yeah.
catalogs and sounds.
Yeah, man, sorry. So like when you get over there, like, it's vice versa because you have producers, and producers when they get so deep in their game, you just have like, like the Alchemist, like Stoop the Enemy of Mankind, like
And keeping in
shit.
mind, everyone, this is like 2018, 19 that you're coming into all of this. So these guys is like, they got decades.
Yeah. So I was going through this, and like I've grinded the discographies of like just producers, man. 38 Special. Oh shit, man. There's so many in the underground that are just
Hold up, 38
like
Special
38.
producer?
Yeah, man.
I
Yeah,
thought he
yeah.
did,
He was
I know he raps.
so many.
I didn't know he does producing.
Yeah, man. 38 Special is a really, really good one. Unless I'm like super duper high,
Cause like
he
30,
should be a producer on a lot of them.
like I know 38 Special does fucking rap albums with the Robert Greene
Yeah,
fucking covers. I had no idea that he's also a producer.
yeah, man. And I'm pretty sure I followed a lot of his projects through his producing. Where is it? Oh no, that just says who he's worked with. It's not giving me like an actual list of tracks he's produced.
No, you're right. You're right,
But he's
dude. But
done
no, I see what you're saying. I mean, I found him on Wiki, but like he's
his.
got a lot of
No, like
associated acts.
really cool ones. There was cool ones, man. That like I was kind of. That's how I found like there's a new like female one, Shay Noir. She releases really cool shit.
Isn't she
I
on
think there was
Griselda, or she's fucking with them? No.
no. That's Armani Caesar. That's that dude. That's another crazy female rapper as well. Like I went through her stuff, and that was really good. Like that's what, like, and that's what I was saying. Like man, like you get like these big albums, and like maybe 4 albums, like 4 songs on the album, they stuck in the underground, man. Like maybe it's just a few songs stuck in the as opposed to rock where they had to be so creative. Because on a rap album, it would be like a singer interchanging bands for every single song of the album. Like that is when you would have like just an absolute masterpiece. If a band had to write like 2 songs out of a 10 song album, you're gonna get some wild creativity where the singer can just kind of do this wild stuff on it where you're like, holy crap, like I haven't heard an album like this before. And that's like where you have like composers and stuff like that where it's not like like a band behind it, more like I don't have a good example off the top of my head, but then like with the producers, like I'd be listening and I'd be like, yo, there's only one bad song on this album, and I'd be like, how is that possible? But it's because you grow in the style of the person. You really grow in that person's lyrics, the features that they're bringing on. They're artists that you already like. There's nothing really new to it. Eventually, you're listening to Army of the Pharaohs. Shit, I like everybody in Army of the Pharaohs. All the featuring acts that come on there, I could listen to those albums all day long. And that's where just listening to so much music, that's where the 10,000 really came from, man. And that's where the radio came from, was because like eventually I think I hit like 3,000. I was like, I got to do something with this. I can't just build a 10,000 song playlist and be that dummy that's like, yo, listen to my 10,000 song playlist, so I can be like, yo, listen to my radio. It sounds a lot better.
Tell us how you got that started.
Shit, that was a lot of time and effort. The licensing for that. That's through SOCAN, I believe it's called. I forget what that stands for, but it's a blanket license. It covers anything that we play. The art, like we can play anything that's commercial because like the artists, I guess they register with SOCAN, and then it covers anything that we play. I don't know how they track what we play, But it really sucks, that when I sign it, I have to say that I'm making $0 for the year. That was my first year. I had to say, I plan on making $0 because then I can't get taxed on it. The Canadian government, if I put I was going to make $20, they'd tax me 100. They'd be like
No, I'm
$20
not
is
gonna
under
lie
the
to you.
limit.
I don't know about that life where I'm telling that and all of that. No, I'm sorry. You moved into an area upon which, this guy be talking business game. I'm not 100 on. I signed
It's,
up on
it's
SoCan as an
interesting.
artist. I have never pursued commercial radio licensing, nor
It was weird at
did I
first
go.
because
To be
I
honest,
didn't
I just
explain.
talked to an accountant and let him tell me what's up. So I wasn't really following the nuances of the money part of my life as much as maybe you did. I mean, I'm small numbers and shit. I'm not that worried. But like, but yeah, no. If you could like elaborate a bit on like, I guess not so much the licensing, but how do you get it? You just like apply? Are there like restrictions? Like, is it a complicated thing to do?
It's more so like, figuring out the exact license that you need for it. And then like I forget what it cost us. It was a couple hundred for the licensing and that's yearly. Like that has to be renewed as soon as I
Hold up. You're saying for a couple $100s, you can get a license that lets you open up your own radio station and not violate the law.
yeah, 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 100%, man. You can't like there's limitations. Like I don't think I can go and like DJ my station anywhere with the license I have. Like that's another license I have to get to be able to do like an in-person play big playing of my thing. I'd have to whip up, dude. Like the one I have is something like if I type in license, it'll probably just like show me what it's called really quick. No, it's not going to tell me, but I forget what it is. It's like a license F21 segment something, and like they have them up on their website. But like trying to find it's like kind of like it's like trying to find like like a needle in a haystack. It's useless. One place points you to another, one place points you to another. Then eventually, like 10 weeks later, you end up with the actual document that you need. You're like, this is the one. And then you're like sign it right away and send it back and you get your licensing because between that like everybody's asking you different questions, like are you going to be DJing live events with this radio station, like how like in your area how they'll go down to like like, oh, come meet us at boom 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 event, like that. I can't do that right now. Like that's an entirely different license I'd have to apply for and pay for as well, probably more based off of how much money I'd be making in that event, so that depending on what I play, or I don't know, man, because I think maybe I'd have to submit a set list I'm going to play at that so that properly they get their money under my licensing. I have no idea, but
So you don't have to submit a set list right now?
no, that's where it's weird. Like I don't know. I have no idea because obviously, actually, you know what? No, that is easy. Like I can log on. So the place that hosts my radio, they keep like a database of every song that's ever been played, everything like that. So come the end of the year, they probably just smack up, who are my top artists. Don't fuck with the bottom. Anybody that's like below 1%, don't fuck with that. Kind of keep it to like a number they can actually deal with. And then just probably whatever June hits, whatever their fiscal year, whenever that ends, they just boom smack send out to all the artists whatever they've had for that year, and then see you
Hmm.
next year. That's
So
that's
that's an
that's what I
interesting
think.
point too. So getting played on the radio like a 1-2 time is effectively like useless because you're gonna be in the bottom 1%, and you got to get that repeat spins going on and to establish that relationship so that you can be like,
Probably, yeah, because yeah, if you're only getting a few, I don't like I could be speaking out my ass. Like you'd probably have to have a good amount of plays from a lot of different sources, but yeah, like the radio definitely would be more like, yeah, like unless you get that replay, definitely more for promotion, man. Like you want to get like what we're going to be doing this year with our radio is an underground hour, which is completely just like user submitted. And I'm gonna put it like if this is our prime time slot, like I'm a book it right around so that like people, I'm not gonna lose my prime time hours, but people that are there during the prime time will see some like really dope music from people that have absolutely no following to people that have maybe as much following as a few of the artists that I play on the thing that are sending the music in. So that's gonna be a really nice one for literally anybody that sends it in, man. Like if my high ass sits here and appreciates what you just sent in, I'll play it. Like
Yo,
there's not really any
can
question.
you like run your shit 24/7?
Oh, dude, yeah, man, it's running. You can, dude, open it right now. See what's fucking playing.
Okay. What is it? Immortal dot what? What's the URL?
Type in immortalradio.ca.
Hold up. Give me a second here.
Not a problem, man. I got no idea what's playing right now.
I'm gonna move it on top of your face though for the stream. Um, how do we play? Do I just hit play? Ooh.
Yeah, play it on the PC one. Yeah, right there, the one to the left.
It's fucking Vinny Paz.
Wait. Oh, yeah, is it?
Yeah, it's Vinny Paz. I just heard the voice. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. That's wild. So you can just run your fucking playlist 24/7. People so like, does it matter that you play it or that people listen to it?
To me, like, obviously, like like that's another.
So I meant from like a stat perspective with like SoCan and them. Does it matter? Like, do you have to have like listeners for that shit to be like viable? So like, cause you could be like streaming 24/7 and nobody bop on and listen to a thing.
Yeah, no, that they would have to probably think about that, because you're right. Like you could have 100 radio stations out there playing one track, unlimited, like unlimited. Like that track could just never end on 100 radio stations 24/7 for a year, and then that artist theoretically is owed bank. But if they look at the fact that 0 people tuned into any of those plays, then yeah, that's probably jack shit. Like you're definitely right about that. Like you got to tune in, and it shows, like, I don't know, it doesn't show me, like, like the amount of listeners I've ever had on this track. It shows me like peak listeners I've ever had. So it'll show me, like, like which ones are my best tracks. I can check out, which ones people stick around for, because definitely, like what you said, that he can't pay people if nobody's listening. That would be hard. That would really kill radio fast, man.
Yo, hold on. Is it hard to promote a radio station? So, like, okay, you start your radio station, you get your website, you doing your thing, you find your radio partner people. That's the basic steps of shit that y'all can just Google on your own. Now you got your radio. Is it like, how do you build it? What do you do with that?
Like one thing that, like, through the place that hosts my site, one thing they do is an integration they have is, like, you can send it through to Twitter, like whatever you're playing at that point. And so, like, I used to have it in stupid intervals, man, like fucking like 3 minutes and shit like that. So every 3 minutes, it would ping you, Immortal Radio's playing, and sometimes it would be the same track. So I was like, fuck, I really got to separate that. I think it's at like 11 minutes or something. But so, and at first, man, the first 28, like that account has too many tweets. But the first 28,000 tweets on that didn't even have my goddamn website.
Yo, shout out Night Nurse Selections for the follow. So you tweeted autumn tweets with no call to action to bring anybody back to your page. Just, we exist and we're playing some shit. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it would be like playing this
you
on a
said
more
28,000.
Yeah, man. Thank God it wasn't me, man. It was like a robot sending them out. But dude, it was horrible. Like, I sat down one day and I just looked at it and I was like, yo, this is flawed. I was like, this is about 28,000 missed opportunities. And then I changed up like the hashtags to stuff that weren't so stupid. I added in the website, and then, like, dude, I'm not big, but like my listeners come from Europe, like primarily, like Canada. Kick this shit up. Like, let's get some more fucking plays going here.
Are you saying
Like,
that your spam Twitter strategy generates actual listeners for you?
because through what I do, like, I looked up a little bit of like the SEO stuff for Twitter, so I get like other bots picking me up, and the other bots, like, they pick up certain ones, and so so if I tweet it out, like, most of my plays, I think, come from people that also follow these bots that are retweeting certain radio stations. So then, like, I have like this, I don't know, automatic network kind of just like pinging me.
Let me run that back to make sure I'm following this, and just to make sure everybody on board. You optimized SEO is the process of optimizing whatever for whatever search engine you're fucking with. So it's not just Google. It's if it's a search engine, there's SEO for it. Twitter has its own set of rules. And you set up your shit not to fuck with the algorithm so much, but to get the bots that are scanning Twitter to pick you up. So you're playing like a different algorithm game entirely than the rest of the people. Everyone's like hashtag this, hashtag. You're like, nah, hold up. The bots want me to get this guy. And if that bot has a bunch of fans, I'll just piggyback on their shit. And you reinvented not reinvented, I imagine, but you came at Twitter masterful grace and managed to get a bunch of Europeans over to your site on some fucking with bots in a brilliant way. That's a big time knowledge nugget. Bonnie was right to drop them knowledge nuggets.
And what really sucks is like my game on other sites like really isn't that high yet. Like one of our dudes, Hermian, like our producer and our one of our lead engineers, he's gonna really help me fuck with YouTube this year. He's been looking at a lot of that, and that's where like, you know, like because the radio station. Once I realized that I had 28,000 tweets out there, man, I think that was a real big like spark under my ass. You know, lit the fire. I had to be like, yo, I got to capitalize on this if I'm gonna send out 28,000 more. Hopefully attach the website so people are like, oh, okay, Immortal Radio, that's where I listen. It was horrible.
Nah, but we all learn from that shit. But what's super important is that you're sitting here telling us about how to mark Twitter in a whole different way. That's wild. And I'm pretty sure that depending on what you're doing, there's opportunities there. Maybe you're not doing a radio station, but when you're playing the Twitter game, did you ever think about the Twitter bots and how your relationship with the Twitter bots could be a thing?
Check out the bots for your genre. I haven't done it for my music, but I know it works for the radio. Check out if there's lo-fi bots. Check out if there's boom bap bots. Check out if there's whatever subgenre you're doing, and see if you can get that bot to pick you up.
Fucking wild shit. It's like just when you think like a social media platform is pointless and there's no somebody pops up and it's like, nah, I figured Twitter out. Here's some Twitter shit you never thought about. But bro, you don't even understand. This is like, I'm going to go back to my day job with this shit. I'm be like, yo, hold up. I was talking to this guy on my interview. Let me tell you what that's some fire shit right there with the Twitter shit. I don't know. Maybe the rest of y'all watching this are like, bro, come on, Holden. That's some obvious shit. Well, not to me, okay? It wasn't obvious to me.
No, man. One of them, like, randomly, like, because I got a notification one day, and it was one of them picked up some random hashtag, and it said like right in the description like that this bot like at a certain rate retweets anything with this hashtag, and I was like, yo, are there more of these things? And then I went scouring for like ones that at least had followers, people liking the tweets, people liking it that weren't like random other bots. So I wasn't just gonna be pinging it to a bot that had bots following them. They would just be like this weird like chain of shit. Eventually, I wanted it to be at least something. And like we have, like I believe it's like 500, 600 unique monthly listeners. Like that's because it pings me like how many listeners I have overall, and then it tells me how many are unique, like from a unique area or whatever. And that's how many it is. Anytime I open it, there's at least 5, 6 people going, 7 people. Some nights, you get to see it. I've seen it hit 10, man, and that's a wild one because, like, to me, I haven't really done a lot for it. It's still more.
You figured out Twitter. You did a lot.
It's still like it's still like a hobby thing to me, man. Like one of the biggest things I love is just, like I'm looking for something to listen to, and then I smack on Immortal Radio, man, and that's my thing. I like turning that on. I like listening to it. I like the variety. When my favorite tracks drop, I'm like, oh shit! I'm like, this is
real. Like, yo, this is a useful conversation for my life. That's all I'm saying. I like things like that, and I like the fact that you're like willing to share some of the more logistical bullshits. Because sometimes not everyone's so down to share it. I get it. A lot of stuff's super boring in life, but sometimes you don't know how easy something is. Not necessarily easy, but easy relatively speaking, until somebody's like, yeah, I suffered for 6 months, look how easy it is. Like people like that, big blessings.
dude, and that's where like too many people like they really let that ego go, and they won't listen to anybody else. But that's like everything I've done in music so far has been by just keeping an open ear and open mind, and not really like, if somebody tells me something's wrong, of course, maybe I might get mad in that moment and be like, yo, fuck that. No, I'm right. But then, like, I sit on it and I dwell on it. And then, like, it hits me and I apologize. And then I'm like, shit, like, this is really what I should have been doing the entire time. This is what it was about. Like, you were right. Like, like people have always, like when you start rapping, they talk about, your flow, your bars, all that. So, like, the entire time, like, all that shit's in the back of my head, not being angry. You write something and you're like, you fucking stumble over it and you're like, no, you're like, that's exactly what they're talking about. Like, there was one guy, man, and he was from around here, the only person I've ever rapped with around here, actually. And he was just talking about, like, there's no need for so many words sometimes. Like, some words hold no merit in a bar, in a sentence.
Facts.
And that was like when I had an editor for my book, and she told me like basically the same thing for a novel, like in a sentence or a paragraph, like there's no need to repeat information, there's no need to beef it up with words that don't need to be there. And so it was just a weird one to hear, like in a different manner than hearing it from an editor with a novel. It was something different. And shit, man, I'm still waiting for that guy to hit me back. He released like one song, came over. We were writing a really nice one. I still like what I had for that one. And dude's a ghost now. He's releasing music, but won't answer.
That happens. The one thing I learned about features is that it's weird. It's like dating. Everything in the music game reminds me of Tinder lately. It is one of the most, like, once I had that, like, whoa, it's just Tinder. Sometimes you swipe left, sometimes you swipe right. That's how it goes. Sometimes people want to go, sometimes people ghost you. Music game. I don't know. I don't see a huge difference. Um, but like, I think it's interesting because like you came in so late, but you also, because I mean, realistically, coming into artists at like last couple of years feels like late, you know. But at the
It's
same
great.
time, you're
I
coming
always
in
acknowledge it.
with like the knowledge of like you book industry shit. So you're coming at it with this like wildly out of scope perspective that I don't think like a whole lot of people have when they come into the music game. As far as the
Another big one. Another big one I used to do, because some of like the machines I ran, man, like you run them with precision. And if you run them with precision, like the guy that taught me, man, like you could, if you're confident, and I am, man, like if you're confident, you can go home for dinner. If you know that the run time is going to be 2 hours and your machine, that it's well taken care of, you can step away, man. Like I wrote a lot of the book working. I brainstormed a lot of the book working. I wrote it on a fucking BlackBerry, like a lot of it. Then I'd go home and I'd transport, like, text and text and text and just transport it over. Because you know how you used to text, like on the touchpad, man? It's just like a keyboard, how you don't have to look at it. So I'd be like staring at my machine and goddamn like fucking writing a book of, like, just with my hands. And then, you get home, there's a typo here, typo there, just fix all that or whatever.
So you not only
But
wrote a book, you wrote a book while not looking at it on your phone.
yeah, dude. And then eventually they didn't like that. So then it had to be like you had to read books. And that's when I was reading like stock novels and whatnot. And that's what really got me interested in like the record label as well. Like that kind of side of it, was looking at, like why some, when I got into it, why some of these people were so successful, like label wise, and why some of these labels just crumbled. Like if they had the foundation, they had the artist, they had this, they had that, they had this, what was the one crack in there that made the whole castle just tumble in? So like those stock novels that I was reading, that was probably the best part about, like knowing my job, was having the freedom to really sit there and read, like, God, man, oh, I forget the guy's name. I could probably grab it in a few minutes. It's sitting up in my library, but I don't remember what it is. Peter Lynch, that's the guy's name. It just came back to me, dude. Crazy book. And like it just taught me that, like, like in there is a chapter about how one year, like this group of third graders, man, like they outperformed the entire S&P 500 index because they just picked like companies that they really liked, these kids. they just picked this entire list of companies that they liked, like Coca-Cola, Toys R Us, like just stupid companies, man. And by the end of the year, they outperformed the index by like something wild, like over 150, something that was just crazy because like it was just all of the things that these third graders liked. And there was a whole chapter about it, about how like sometimes the people that go in it as like the craziest experts and don't look at it from weirder angles, they end up just burning themselves because they're so like dug in their heels, like expert opinion. Like obviously, those third graders aren't going to repeat that every year in history. They're not going to outperform the S&P 500 just being like, oh, I love Toys R Us. But like it just proved that year that it was done, that it was just like a crazy overturn for what anybody ever thought possible.
But it also makes sense, right? Because if I'm not mistaken, you're only supposed to invest in stocks into companies that you actually like and believe in,
Yeah.
and that's the right way to like do it. Like the
And that's what a lot of that book's about, man. And that's what that was also about, is that like, when you look at a company, like, yeah, but that's it. Like if you don't exactly like it, or if you're only like a numbers analytic person, you forget about stuff, man. And then you turn around at the wrong moment, and that shit's already the worst like value you've ever seen in your life, and you're like, damn, dude. Like one of them, the one I regret, was sitting at my machine, man, and one of the IPOs, like the initial price offerings I saw, was Spotify right when it launched, $40 or something stupid like that, man. It's crazy now. Like there were ones I just watched them launch, and I was like, I don't know about that one. And then you look back and you're like, fuck.
I only had a moment like that one time, and it was AMD when it hit 30 something, and I knew AMD was about to wipe out Intel because I had found out that they were going to be used by the PS5 and shit. And you're like, oh, say word, that's guaranteed stock price increase. And then I didn't do the brave thing, and then the stock price literally tripled within a year, and I'm like, huh, I don't know that I'm ever gonna know things like that and have that kind of shit happen again. Like, I tripped about it. I watched it go down, and then one day it was like 50 something, and I'm like, oh no, it's over. And then it just climbs, and it just keeps climbing. And every day my phone notifies me that AMD goes up another 0.28% or whatever.
And you're like, fuck you, phone. I don't want to know this.
I think it's a good reminder. Actually, I think it's useful to like remember that, because like that was a time I probably could have made money if I just gambled on information I knew solidly. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't even like bad. It was like just common knowledge, and nobody cared because AMD versus Intel wasn't cool. It wasn't hot. Like it was just one of those slept on moments. And then
Oh, yeah.
now AMD's hot. Everybody looking at it.
Dude, some of those, like, I remember joking about like the price of Amazon before, man. I'd be scared to check it out now. I'd be terrified to check out what the hell an Amazon stock is worth now. Last I remember, shit, it might have been around like 2,500
It
US.
is $3,229.72.
So that's another 700. Yeah, Jesus, man, that shit rises like no tomorrow.
It's almost
That's
like
almost like
if you could
when
afford
I was
one
watching.
Amazon stock now, it's worth buying.
Yeah, we were watching them when they were like 11, like 12, joking about them then.
So
Now they're over doubling a bit.
my
This is what I love, man.
my dad
Like
knew
that's why.
about Bitcoin in 2010. And my dad made fun of Bitcoin in 2010 and was telling me about that in 2014. And then we made fun of Bitcoin in 2014. And then Bitcoin,
Yeah,
that was not wise.
no, man. That's the exact same stuff. Like at least like my father-in-law did invest in that, so he's got his Bitcoin and whatnot. They were doing it, 2013, 14. Oh no, 14, 15, I believe. Yeah.
That's some big
So right
gains.
in that nice early month when it wasn't like, I think it was still below like, what's that? I don't want to say six figures because that's not six, but
No,
10,000 or
it was
below
below
that
five
mark.
figures. No, it was. It was like whatever. That shit blew up. Like then, and I think it was like 2016, 17 was like its first real blow up, and then it like had its real blow ups. That's right. Bitcoin had two glow up moments in its life so far. It's true. Um, so basically, you'll be running a label at the same time and making music. When did you like get into music? Let's talk about that for a quick second as an artist. Like, so is that all simultaneous to the radio and the label? Are these things all just happening at the same time, or is there any kind of sequence to it all?
No, man, there's no sequence to this madness. It all runs, and if it doesn't run properly at the same time, I put something on hold. Um, More often than not, it's my music that gets put on hold because like the radio. If people are listening, that's gotta stay good. That can't go stale. That can't die out. That has to be something that's always around. The label, that's not me at all. That's me for other artists. So I can't drop that off. My music is the only one that can really like die off, drop off. I'm always writing, like we have a disgusting amount of tracks that are ready to go. That's part of the sad thing, like we have probably God 10, 15 tracks ready to go that if we just try to set down, properly record them, but with this Skribbal one, like that's the priority. Like I ain't fucking with anything else until I really get this Skribbal one done.
I don't think anybody knows what that means. I know what that means, but I don't think anybody knows what that means. Bonnie's probably going,
Yeah.
did he just say Skribbal? Yeah, he said Skribbal.
Yeah, no, like the rapper. Like we have an album we're throwing together with him. So I got a few more verses to finish off with that. When I finish that off, that'll be something that I can hopefully return to my own music. Like these online festivals, those were crazy, together.
All right,
So like I was spending time with
so
those,
let's
not
run that.
really focusing on music.
So let's run it back. So when did you start your label?
Officially, like, one of the first nights that we were drinking, my buddy said, like Enigmatic Electronic Entertainment, and that was just like the name. Like there was no concept, there was no plan, there was nothing like that. It was just like a name at that point that we knew that going forward we would like to do our music, but like a label was our end game. We didn't really want to sign anywhere. We always wanted to have the plan B that we were independent, that we would try to bring as an like an independent feel to a label as possible, or it's not like like you kind of come up to your album and you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that, like like you have constraints left, right, and center. We wanted a label that if we ever were a part of one to be something that would be very, you only hear a few, you hear a few of them. You don't hear a lot about them. You hear everybody trashing a label. You don't hear everybody, really talking up the idea of trying to sign with one anymore, unless you're going for like a really big cash bonus. People are like, oh, I want to be independent, want to be independent, want to be independent, and it makes a lot of sense. You want to do this by yourself. You want to have like that feeling. But I don't know, like coming from hockey and stuff like that. Like I like that team, man. Like I've never in everything I've done. Like I've never been a solo artist. I'm a duo. This label is like my team built around me. Hockey is like a huge thing. I bring a lot of hockey management, if you want to call it that, skills to the label, the way I want to run things here, where it's formed like a hockey team, like there's no piece that works the best. There's no piece that, we can run without. Everything has to be there, from like the equipment managers, down to the trainers on a hockey team. Everything has to be there. Every piece is just important as the next, otherwise it doesn't run. And that's where like like producers, that shit doesn't get enough credit in hip hop, which blows me away. Which coming from rock and metal and all that, how many producers like do people actually know? Can people name a lot of producers?
I'm
I
gonna
can go
say
down and
today, yes. I really believe a lot of people can because of like a shift in this attitude. But a couple years
yeah.
back, I think what you're saying holds a lot of weight. But I'd be like wildly surprised if people couldn't drop a top two or three at this point, even.
Yeah, but that's what I want. Like if you can drop me a top 25 or 50 of artists, I want you to drop me that exact same list of producers. Like I want,
Okay.
because, and that's it, man. Because like in rap and metal, or sorry, not rap, but rock and metal, man. Like every single year, like people would be like dying to wait and see like who are the top 20 guitar players of the year, who are the top 20 drummers. But I don't see like the same, like highlight on this on like subgenres. Who's the top like you know, now of course with trap and everything, like you're saying, like the trap producers are big deals, but like looking back, a lot of people, if you ask them who produced this track, you know, who produced that track, not even just tracks, man, more like who produced with this artist, they don't really know, you know, like who carried the artist for like many platinums, many golds, diamonds. It's kind of a weird thing to me because like I was saying, like, you know, Guns N' Roses, of course, you know, Axl and Slash, nobody really can name the other dudes, but like the Beatles, like no, everybody knows the Beatles, everybody knows all four of them, you know. I hope that they don't forget you know, George and Ringo. Obviously Paul and John are the big boys, but it's a weird aspect to me where like these, like obviously these musicians or these singers, they took their bands behind them like so seriously and always put them at the front. Like obviously, you know, like the lead man had
Shout
like
out Consake, Conscyc. I don't know how to say that. Shout out you for
Morgan
following.
Johnson.
I
Yeah.
apologize.
Oh, no worries, man. But like there was a different like aspect to it where like, you know, like when you have a rapper that's going around, they'll bring their own producer for many of those tracks produced by another producer, you know, like just to hit play, be that guy behind the scene. You know, you're just giving this guy his whole set, but you might have only produced two tracks out of like the entire set that's being done. It's a very weird thing where like a lead singer had to bring that band around, and they had to. So it was more of a, you know, standard recognition. You knew who was there, you knew who was, you know, behind the scene. But then like producers are just trying to like, even like, you know, cover art, like you, to find out a producer on a track sometimes, man, you gotta dig to find who produced the track sometimes, and I find that really odd.
That part's mad odd to me still. So I definitely think people don't credit producers enough. I also think
Yeah,
doing this interview thing, producers are not into the limelight often, so they tend to do none of the marketing to put their name in front of people. Not all of
that's
them,
true.
but a lot of the ones I've met, and I've met a decent number at this point. However, the rappers love the limelight, so they make front and center produce. They'll be like, Psh, whatever, I'll pay for that beat, or I stole that beat, whichever. It doesn't matter. I'm using that beat now. It's done. And then cover art's weird because of the fucking writing rules. If it wasn't for the writing rules, maybe there would be more producers credited on shit. But it gets kind of weird because like the way DistroKid works right now, I can't properly credit people as additional artists without paying more money. So I'm featuring people, and then I don't know.
Yeah.
It gets all fucking weird with the specifics of how these distributors work. So like, cover art is kind of wild. But speaking of team, having cover art people, crucial person on your team. Man,
Yes, definitely, man. Definitely. And it's cool to see what they can create. It's wild, you know, you give them like a little bit of a concept and then you get something back and you're like, holy shit, I have no idea how to do that.
who are the other people then that you like have with the team? Like, what are the other roles that you feel are pivotal?
Like the ones that we have that are really big are like even the small ones, like I was saying, like the biggest ones we have though are like I don't know if Apollo's still in here, but Apollo helps me like find a lot more talent now. Like that was one thing where like if I was really going to keep going forward with trying to do what I'm doing, I had to, you know, stop that, you know, one man mentality of running everything and kind of get a team around me, you know, a smaller team within the team that would help me make sure that all of this is going to go flawlessly throughout this year, where it's not going to be so, you know, like I'm sitting here listening to this amount of chunk of artist music, you know, every night or whatever. And then like during that time, I could be, you know, updating the website, you know, doing something on BeatStars, doing something on YouTube, trying to market this, trying to do that, trying to see if people
Oof,
have, you know,
spitting
beats
that
for their
real
album.
struggle shit.
Yeah, dude. Then you gotta see if the people have the beats for their albums. You know, want to make sure none of those beats overlap. I've done that once or twice where like I gotta go back and be like, shit, man, this beat's actually been used. I'm very sorry, and like stuff like that. So Apollo helps like with that. One of our other like Apollo's an engineer as well with us. We have another guy, Hermian. This dude is just like a wizard with microphones and everything, man. This guy, he's an audio engineer. He's an engineer and then an audio engineer as well. Like you know what I'm talking about? Like straight engineer, like the boom bam, like figure out how everything works in life. And then like he's an audio engineer on the side.
Mm.
So like his work is it's impeccable as well. He cares about a lot, you know, about like how far you are from the mic, what like if you're standing like here, if you should be standing here or here to get rid of it, you know, something within that mix. The dude is crazy. He recommended all the fucking equipment I actually bought recently because I had to get, you know, as a duo, it doesn't really work that well having one set of equipment, so we had to, you know, invest in another set, and that was everything Hermione recommended. Um, and then we have two producers that like Steezy and the Barber, and they're like our lead producers going forward that are going to kind of like, you know, set the tone, set the bar. Steezy is Canadian. He's actually like with like 10 minutes from me, not even, maybe, like depends on how fast you drive during that journey. And the Barber is German, and they've done a few collab beats together. The Barber does West Coast funk. Steezy does multiple, you know, multiple different genres within hip hop. But he's a guitar heavy producer, very guitar heavy producer. Um, and so like those two are kind of like, you know, going to set the bar for everything that we do going forward. You know, they collab very well together. That's a huge aspect to me, man. Like producers, they need to, you know, kind of collab very well together to produce stuff that would be very unique to an environment, stuff that you would not hear otherwise. Steezy would not be producing these tracks without the Barber, and vice versa. The Barber would not be producing these tracks without Steezy. There, you know, the Barber brings such a West Coast slam to a beat, and then Steezy will, you know, like sauce on like the Santana guitar, and it's such a weird, like nice vibe to it. Where, like I was saying, the one couldn't do it without the other, and that's like that you know, again, like another team aspect where like I'm really hoping that, you know, we have two more producers, IDFK and Shamir. They're just, you know, producers with us, but they're going to start collabing soon. They both happen to be within the same area. IDFK, I believe, is in India, and Shamir's in Pakistan. So like a lot of those like instruments you wouldn't hear over here are going to be a lot more prominent in those beats, and they already create wild beats on their own, man. I can't wait to hear the melodies and everything they're going to create together. So it's kind of like just creating an environment where everybody really knows what's good with everybody else. Everybody knows the capabilities everybody else has. I really try to push people to get acquainted with other people's music, not so much the artist, because if you don't want to really deal with a person, that's not for me to really push you towards. But if you like their music, hell, let's set that up. Like, let's get that really going. We've had there's a song coming out that's next to Paulo, an art vocalist we have Flora, and a producer hi hat that's coming out in the next few weeks. Actually, in 4 days. Sorry, that's not next few weeks. That's the 14th. Trusk and CJ. I don't think there's a release date for that song yet. That's gonna be like that's not. I didn't set that up. Trusk and CJ already roll amazing on a track together. That's just another one, both artists from us that are gonna be dropping soon. Uh, it's it's really it's something else,
He's
man. Trying to
next Apollo. You've been getting all the love.
dude, lots of love to Next Apollo. He's a big part of what we'll be doing going forward. A big part.
He's like,
Dude
yo,
creates
next Apollo helping me keep my shit together because without next Apollo, I ain't holding my shit down. I realized that I'm not good at doing everything. And shout out him. You were the first one that got name dropped. I think that's what really matters.
he was the first one to really accept that I, you know, not accept that I needed the help, but accept to, you know, take some of the burden off my shoulders and really help me go forward with this. Because, you know, with a few people that will take like, you know, like a website off my hands, that's one less thing I got to sign into during the week. Like I was saying earlier with Hermione, our engineer, he's going to help me out with the YouTube, the SEO for that. He seems to know a lot about that. That's going to be a game changer for our channel.
YouTube
It's going to
SEO
be,
is like the easiest of the SEOs. That's the best part.
it's just I haven't looked it up that much. Like, it's just one of those things where like I have to-do lists, and one of those things that's on that list is the YouTube SEO. I've never sat down to it yet.
Yeah, YouTube's a lot more. about similar content. So you're trying to like make stuff that shows up in related content. Honestly, like you could go waste time watching a bunch of YouTube gurus and shit, but like big things to note is whatever your main keyword is, spam it in the first minute or so of your video. That's why I'll hear people be like, so today we're going to be talking about the hot updates from the Witcher 3 game, and you're going to find out everything new from the hot update in the Witcher 3. And after I do my intro, the hot Witcher 3 updates are good. That's an SEO move. Just to like, that's a really deliberate thing they do,
Oh,
because you want to plug it so that your main keywords are drawn in early on, because the Autobot thing's only scanning the first couple of minutes. We've tested it with shit like a weed and whatnot, and don't smoke weed in the first 3 minutes type thing, because the idea is in the first 3 minutes of your video, that's when kids are going to stick around, and after that ain't no child watching grown ass content. No kid is watching this. They're going to leave. That's the main general thinking. Otherwise, if you can transcribe your words and script it and put it into the fucking whatever the words that pop up on the screen. I'm blanking on the word. That shit, upload it yourself. That's good for SEO. Keywords are virtually irrelevant, is what YouTube is saying these days. And to my experience, it's not that relevant. What really is relevant is length. So you want to find the average length of a video that you're aiming to pivot into, and you want to be longer than it, but not full of fluff.
Okay.
So like we did really well on YouTube with the album reviews, because our crap was like 2 hours. It'd be like a 2 hour album review, and everyone else is making like 20-minute ones. So like multiple times on day one before YouTube got smarter, the teleprompter, no, that's not the word, it's fucking subtitles. That's the word I was looking for. But now YouTube cares about shit like engagement. So what it's really watching for, it's less SEO but more about keeping people interested in the way TikTok is. So it's like your thumbnail matters, your title thumbnail combo gets people to click, and then the retention rate post click. Those two things are the most important thing to get your shit up on YouTube. If you do that,
Okay.
you running it. So a lot of the SEO crap, it's kind of like not really that hot on YouTube anymore, because the algorithm's hot in a sense. It knows. Yo, what's up, Ismail? Good to see you. But yeah, and then yeah, stuff like, I don't know, like putting a title on your screen with the words of your chapters, like just little things. Having chapters is big. So like my long ass video, we're gonna do this. Shout out to homeboy Chris Chrome. Part of what he does, because I can't watch this shit again, is he watches the whole thing in full and he timestamps that motherfucker for me, so I don't have to go watch it again, and then I can just fix the English and we fucking put it up. But it's not got the chapters. So let's say somebody in the future is watching this shit, they can skip over it. If you do that and you make sure that like you understand your YouTube game and you keep it engaging to the world of YouTube, so it's got to be a little uppity, and it's becoming how-to land, so focus education, you'll kill it. Just everything else is not hot right now. It's how-to education. That's hot on YouTube. Everybody knows it, because all you get is fucking video essays and vlogmases and all these things where people teach you and show you shit. That's YouTube now.
Yeah. That's why, like, yeah, I want to get it going a little bit better. I don't expect it to blow up. I just want a bit better results than the bullshit I threw together in the beginning. At least mimic, kind of the stuff I have set up on Twitter.
Yo, what you
At
could
least
do
get
though is
it.
like fucking run your radio station on Twitch.
That's what I would do. That's what I actually was thinking earlier, was I got to live stream the radio station
Yo, you
100%.
can't put that shit on YouTube though. That's like the copyright people will fuck you up. You are not licensed to make money on
Yeah.
YouTube. Or the copyright people will fuck you up. I don't know how else to put it. Then they're
Yeah,
mean
that's
people.
true. So
That's why Twitch is
I'll have to
cool.
whip open that thing you sent me, that Twitch thing. I'll have to whip that open and start bringing the radio station over here.
But like we're like the YouTube is fire as talk radio. So like this shit minus the part where I played your music at the front is like mad good for like YouTube and podcast networks. So then we're gonna put it on Spotify and shit after. But like I don't know, YouTube's just about like creating content that is either gonna be a podcast or some shit people are actually gonna watch, and you just need to know what the fuck you're doing with it. Is somebody gonna watch your video, or are they listening to your video and run from there? You're either going audio heavy or graphics heavy, or a good mix in the middle. But
Definitely
like
audio heavy.
And then you can just do shit like I've seen people go real like PowerPoint. It's basically PowerPoint. That's their whole YouTube video. But the script is so fire, I can't help it. I want to watch their fucking. Then they upgrade when they get an editor, and now it's animated PowerPoint. And then inevitably it's animated PowerPoint that looks real nice. But fundamentally, every like fucking 4 seconds is the equivalent of like a slide on a PowerPoint presentation or whatever.
Well, I definitely got to hit up Twitch this year because that's one thing I want to do is just streaming the radio station. That's just an extra set of ears, an extra set of eyes that know about it. Because there's an app, man. Like you don't have to download it. Like you don't have to log on to that site every time, dude. You just download the Immortal Radio app and run from there, man.
I'm gonna be real with you. I will never download that app on some like gosh darn it, I don't want another app like that. However, if I saw you on Twitch, bro, I'm going on a Twitch feed. Now, it's probably not what you want, but it's the closest you would get from me and my consumer habits with music.
No, man, that's perfect because like this app, dude, it's so nice. All it does is just plays music for you in the background. You can swipe it up. This ain't no
I'm
YouTube.
not
You ain't
even
got to
trying
keep
to
it
shit
open.
on it. You got your app is that looks fire. That looks nice.
I got to get Twitch going though. That's a really good one. That's a sick avenue, man.
Because there are people that will fuck with that. As much as I have my opinions, I want everybody to know I know I'm not everybody, and like I don't listen to radio. Radio's still hot. That doesn't mean anything if I listen to radio or not. So I'm aware of that. I'm saying I'll be on Twitch though, learning about calypso and shit from DJs. So I'm saying, maybe I'm a Twitch radio guy, and that's the way to get me. So there's other people like me. That's kind of where I was going
Oh
with
yeah,
that.
man. And it's no like sweat off my back to learn how to do that to like kind of broadcast to another thing when I'm already broadcasting. That's why it's kind of a really sick avenue. I don't really have to do like I already got it running. All I got to do is just set up this stream and just get it nice running from there.
Mm, yeah, for sure. And then, so basically, you got the radio, you got the label where you'd be signing people, and you'd be setting up the middlemaning shit, and you'd be pushing all these different avenues for on behalf of the artist and whatnot. You're your artist yourself, and then you have those virtual shows. How did the virtual shows come to be?
Oh, dude, that was funny. I saw one that happened between just another guy and like this guy that I do it with. This guy musically from the Rap It Out, and I saw it, man, and it was like audio quality kept dropping, all this stuff. The stream kept lagging. Like coming in this year, we got stuff where we kind of want every single performance to be like what you're submitting, what we're submitting. None of the pre-recorded like YouTube kind of stuff like that. Like
Yo,
it's
you gotta
this year's
understand,
all.
nobody outside of you and I knows what you mean by that, so you gotta break down what that means a little bit.
Oh yeah, like some people have submitted like to our like online festival that we do for music. Like they've
So
submitted
hold on,
like
the online festival. I only know because I participated, so I'm aware of what this is. It's like you can find them on his YouTube channel. They're like these long ass video streams that he was leveraging Premiere, so it was like being streamed live. All the artists who participated, which included CB Mac for those who care, included Keymoe, the Key to More Greatness, a couple other people from Montreal that you may know about. I don't actually know if there's anyone else, but either way, we all sent in these little 5 to 20 minute snippets of a set, and he sewed them all together and made this virtual concert. And you've done 3 of them now because I've given you
yeah,
3 sets.
three of them in 6 months. So thank you a lot for 3 sets. I think you're one of the few people who ever did the 3 of them in 6 months, and that's what we're also looking to change. Is really like not so fast. Like this year we might do 3 of them, we might do 2 of them, but if we do 3 of them, it'll be the entire year. Like 4 months between. If we do 2 of them, 6 months between. Give people time to really prep up what they really think their best content is from the last 6 months or whatever. But what I was talking about with the quality was like some people sent in like just strung together like YouTube videos, strung together music videos, and we want it to all be live, like as live as it can be. And so to answer your question, I saw the one, and like the quality was just bad, man. Like the stream kept stopping, it kept like cutting. They kept like having the mouse on the screen and whatnot. And so I just said to the guy, I was like, this is horrible. And he was like a dick. Like I was trying to, saying like, I could probably help, do this in the future. And he was just being a dick about it. So I said, give me 8 weeks and I'll do one that's better. And that was the first one I did. I said, give me 8 weeks and I'll plan a better one and it won't be so fucking horrible and laggy.
So
And look at it, dude.
how the fuck
The
did you
first one was
find
my
Keymoe?
favorite. Skribbal, dude. Those mixtapes that we did through Skribbal,
What
the
mixtapes?
artist in LA, they're called the Shoot the Gift. And like they're pretty much like, it's one of those ones like, you pay for your slot, you just get your song on the mixtape. They were cheap. Like they were very, very cheap. It wasn't like, paying big bucks for any slot on a mixtape. It was just kind of like, and I thought of it as, like what's a way to kind of find a few artists out there, find a few that are really good. I can send you a link for those if you want to check them out, dude.
I was curious. So like, cause I'm like, yo, is that the shit that Keymoe's on?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Cause like I know Skribbal, right? Like for me, this is all like the whole thing to me was a little, I wouldn't say comical, but it was a little funny to me. Um, yeah, okay, because so Skribbal is like a guy that I encountered in album review land back in the day. And he was literally within the first two people to ever hit me up and be like, "Do you want to review my album? I saw your shit and I like what you do." And I was like,
Yeah, man.
"Oh, wow!" And like when you start doing something new and like the first part, you're like, "Fuck that! I don't even care if that's what we're doing." And then we talked about it. Somebody was all like, "Are you sure? Who is this guy?" I'm like, "Trust." And then we did it. Then we did his next ones, but then he ends up becoming our Patreon at one point, paying us monthly to do album reviews on the reel. Like he sent me a message. Like we became like friends. Like me and Skribbal are like we like cuss each other out a little bit in the voice messages, debating the nuances of social politics and crap. Like we geek on Limp Bizkit together.
That's sick.
In fact, I still have to listen to the new Limp Bizkit album, Skribbal. If you do end up watching this, I'm aware that I need to still listen to it. But like, so like I know Skribbal like that, and then all of a sudden I show up in these chats and everybody's like Skribbal this, Skribbal that. Yo, Skribbal's so cool, and I'm like, listen, I call him Scribby in public. Like I'm cool with Scribby. He might like slap me one time, but that's okay. We can get over it. But like for real, he was like, yo, before COVID, he was supposed to come up to Montreal, and I was gonna be his like go around with him guy. Like that's the level of cool we got. And then y'all showed up and Skribbal this, Skribbal that, and I'm like, oh my fucking god, this is the mixtape. Because that's how I met Keymoe. Keymoe I met randomly on Facebook, and then he's telling me about this random ass guy that has mixtapes, and it's like, is it Skribbal? Because I knew about Skribbal shit. Because I hit him up one time, and he's like, bro, I'm gonna be real with you, it's not free. And I'm like, cool. Thanks for being real with me. I'm not it. Right? And I'm like, but it's you? You're the guy that Skribbal linked up with and made the mixtapes with. Like, you gotta understand, I know to everyone out there who's watching me react like this is like somebody did some Nardwar shit in my life level of full circle. That's how wild it
Yeah,
was when
man.
that happened to me.
I didn't like when he hit me up to like partake in them. There was already number one and number two done, and I looked through them, and dude, there's some really good artists on those. That's what really hit me. I was like if I whip up, like let me look up what's good on his first two. They were ones because like when I was also looking up Skribbal, man, Skribbal works with Big Left. Big Left, they do the napalm drop.
Yeah.
Dude, Big Left, it's like he's associated, I believe, to my knowledge, with La Coca Nostra. So it's one of those things where
Big
like
Left is like
I
a early
slowly,
member of La Coca Nostra in like the very
yeah,
early parts of their career and affiliated with
so
them.
that was one of the ones I slowly started going through, like one of my snowballs where I found Skribbal. Like I knew I heard it one of his verses, and then when he hit me up, I was like, I already know this guy's work. Like this is either not him messaging me or I'm doing this no matter what. Like I already like this guy's work. It was one of those ones where it was weird, where like, you listen to so many of these songs and so many of these verses, and then you're like, I don't know. You're like, I know that name. Like, and you whip up the fucking verses you already have downloaded that you like, and you're like, definitely. You're like, I'm in 100%. And
Yo,
so those mixtapes, man, like when I did them, I was in for them because like I wanted to kind of find other artists. Like I wanted to see. who else was out there, and what better a way than, you know, a mixtape held by somebody that I already think they're a dope rapper. What better way than something they're throwing together where there's already two of them previously. So it's not like he's hitting me up for, you know, this random first project. So he, you know, I look at it and then I'm like, oh, you know, shit, like, you know, the first one of them, you got like Recognize, you got Whitney Payton, you got Keymoe's on the first one as well, dude. Keymoe's been here for
Mumbling
a
this
long
and mumbling that. Auto-tune this and auto-tune. Yeah, that's his Keymoe track from that one.
and dude, like, so I started listening to them and I was like, this is it, like, definitely doing this. And then so when I did them, like, I don't know how many artists that actually did these mixtapes sat down and listened to the entire mixtape to see who else was on it. But I sat down and I listened to every song and I slowly started writing in my notebook because I write everything in a notebook. And so I wrote down, you know, CB Mac, Keymoe, Holden, because I think all of you guys were on it at one point or another. You guys
I've personally never been on one of these mixtapes, to my knowledge, unless I'm there and like nobody like, because if I'm there, I had no idea I'm there. Well, that would be wild. But like,
I'm telling you, I think you're here somewhere, man. Like I'm
on a
99%.
Skribbal mixtape. Say what? Nah, I know Keymoe there.
Let me do this. Let me look through.
And
It's one of the ones I think we did. I don't like, dude. It would be a memory that I've lost about how I have, how I know about you. Like I swear to God, you were on one of these.
Nah, I know Keymoe because Keymoe brought me into a group chat with y'all.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Bro, I'd never paid to be on a mixtape in my life.
No, man, I swear to God that I thought that Keymoe maybe put you on here. No, oh wait, no, there's Keymoe and CB Mac. Okay, yeah, the Metaphor Madness. I love that track. So that's where that one came from.
That makes
And
more
I
sense
listened
to me than like me, because I'm like, yo, I mean, I did 2 songs with Keymoe ever. One of them's on my album, well, a remix to one of the tracks on my album, and the other one is on his project that he just dropped. And then he fucking rejected my other verse. He's like, fuck your verse. And then he didn't like anything. I'm like, you know what? This has never happened in my life. Fine. And then I did what he wanted, and then he still hated it. And I'm like, I knew this was a bad decision. What I did the first time was fucking lit. It was this smooth ass verse. It was nice, but whatever. It's Keymoe's song. Keymoe didn't like it. Keymoe put his song out. All love to Keymoe. Now I'm on that other track with Keymoe. It is what it is. Keymoe got me booked, yo. Everybody can say anything about anybody. A person who gets you booked in the middle of COVID at 2 random ass shows, that's somebody you jump on their track. So you know what I'm saying? You hold them down.
Yeah. And so like I went through and I listened to all the.
He got my name on your flyer.
Yeah, man. Like he was doing cool. He does cool stuff. I like his verses a lot, and that's where like listening to those entire mixtapes, it kind of like, you know, like it wasn't like, you know, like me thinking that, you know, like getting my track on this mixtape is going to be the largest thing in my career that I'm hoping to have, but it unlocked me to this weird realm of artists very, very, very early on that I was like, I want to do some work with these guys. Like, you know, hearing like, you know, CB Mac and Keymoe, I was like, I want to do work with them. We did work with one guy on there, West Haven. We did 4 tracks with him. That was great. Those are some of my favorite tracks we've ever done. And so it gave me like this weird little network of artists that I would listen to their music. I know they're in the same boat that I'm in, and I'd like to do music with them. And so, you know, I reached out to everybody at once. A few of them have done, you know, the festivals with us. Obviously, you know, I found you through Keymoe, so it's been a very weird,
Keymoe dragged like 100 people into a group chat, and then didn't explain what the fuck anybody was getting into. And then, listen, bro, that whole thing was so weird for me. But then you were like, Skribbal. And I'm like Skribbal? And then you were like, yeah. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll take this seriously.
Yeah, man.
And then, now here we are. But yeah.
Verses are crazy. The verses are crazy. Produced by everybody at Enigmatic.
So
actually,
yeah,
a few of them are
Skribbal. Now you have the Skribbal project coming that you said.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the project that is coming out. But yeah, man, those mixtapes were sick. Like they definitely opened up a portal to something, and they were cheap, like very cheap, especially like going into it as a duo. We pay everything 50-50, right? So cheap just becomes cheaper at a certain point where it's just like sometimes you're like, well, why not? Like, you know, we could we could either order some extra pizza tonight, or we could just unlock this weird little network of stuff. And that Skribbal stuff was, like I said, man, we went back for two more. I was grateful that we did the first one, and I was locked into the next one, waiting for the next one. Obviously, I think it got put on hold a little bit because we asked him to do 8 tracks. So, like, I think there's a little bit of a gap there for him.
I mean, Skribbal is Skribbal. He's doing his Skribbal shit. I don't know.
Yeah,
He's got a project coming. I don't know if I'm supposed to leak that, but he hit me in the DMs like, "Yo, check it, new EP coming." I'm like, "Yo, say where? We getting back into album reviews." So like, all things considered, me and Skribbal linked up like that. So that's fire. That he's busy. He's a busy dude. That guy's like actually doing it. Like he's in that tier where when he shares his Spotify stats, it's not fake and it is impressive.
dude. And when you request work and you get that work, there's not a moment where you're listening to it and you're like, this is not worth it. You the whole time you're like, this is exactly, like, because like I said, man, I listened to his stuff before. Obviously, then his the Black Eyed Children, that album came out. That was sick shit. That just added to what I already was thinking. I was like, okay, definitely, definitely, definitely. I think the day that I was fucking walking my dog listening to it, I think my dog got pissed because I stopped and I was like, Cujo, sit. And I just started like fucking like looking at my phone and just typing away like fucking madman, and like right to Liam, right to Skribbal at the same time. Like, yo, I got this idea. I'd really like to get this done. I think that you're the person that'll be like one of the best people to really hit this project with. And I don't second guess it ever, dude. That is like this finished product with his verses on it are going to be some of the, like, especially for the label. That's what it is. It's produced by the label. It's going to be engineered by the label. We brought in all the features from outside. It features everybody from the inside of the label. It's going to be a really, really cool like kind of showcase of what we can do in the future with an artist that I quite like. Like I quite like his work. So why the hell not, right? Like it was, and those mixtapes were dope. His work is crazy.
His
And
work
like I
ethic
said,
is
man,
crazy.
we got those back, and it was like, dude, I got them back Christmas Eve, and I was listening to them, and I was just like, holy shit! I was like, this is it. I was like, this is exactly what it is.
Mm, that's fair, man. I mean, I'm excited for it. I mean, none of this is like I might be reacting funny to y'all, but like I've been like listening to this in the DM group chat for like fucking a couple months now on the real. So I'm like very aware of this shit. And I'm like, yo, Skribbal, turns out I'm gonna be on a project with you. And then he's like, haha, yeah, those guys. They're fucking fun. Never bad. It was just like, cause I hit him up. I'm like, yo, for real, Skrill? It's all like weird how our worlds connect like this. I don't know. And Keymoe, cause Keymoe
Dude,
is the key
yeah,
to more
Keymoe, and
greatness.
then
That
dude, for real, that guy. I hit that guy up, and I get like 6 voice messages back, and I just sit there and I just listen to his voice messages forever. And then like as I'm replying, he's sending me more, and like it's
no,
just
we
so
I
much
had a
knowledge.
chat with that guy, so I get 2 voice messages. Holden, I know you're busy and you hate voice messages, but I can't do it right now. And then he like sends me 6 short voice messages where he thinks about what he wants to say first.
Dude, I love conversing with him. It's so good.
I chat with
He's
him
the
a
only
lot.
guy who sends the voice messages. Him and Skribbal. Skribbal sends his, but obviously Skribbal sends more text messages than Keymoe does. I think Keymoe's like 90% voice and then 10% text.
You just gotta have a chat with him. You can be like, yo, I spoke to Holden. And he was telling me how you get him to chat more. And then he'd be like, ah, oh, fuck it, Holden. And then it's all good.
Hey, yo, Keymoe. Hey, yo, Keymoe, if you're here.
I don't think Keymoe never pulls through on the Twitch. He's like out there being Keymoe, doing his Keymoe stuff, figuring out his Keymoe life.
He's like a fucking wild animal, man. I think he just like prowls the wild and does Keymoe things like you're saying.
Well, what I like about Keymoe is that he's tenacious. His skill level as a rapper is almost not relevant to the conversation because Keymoe is hungry in a way that a lot of people are not hungry. Like Keymoe's like, you know what, Montreal, you're not giving me what I want. Fuck that, and he'll start spam DMing the entire universe to get what he wants out of it. And I believe Keymoe is going to turn into a literal key to more greatness for a lot of people, and a lot of people are going to be surprised. understandably so, but I'm not gonna be surprised because
No, man.
it's happened multiple times for me where Keymoe's tenacious thirst for finding shit has benefited me by affiliation because I just, fucked with Keymoe on some random shit. It was random shit. And now he's just there. He's Keymoe, He's the key to more greatness.
Yeah, man. He reminds me of like a French me with a lot more hair.
Mm.
Like he grinds the random avenues and then he just explores what comes from the random avenue no matter what the turnout is. And it's great. Like, obviously it led to you. Obviously, I think it keeps CB Mac in place sometimes. CB Mac will keep Keymoe in place sometimes. If, one's not answering, then the other one will kind of hit the other one up. Like it's really nice, man. It's really cool that, they're there, that like they were on the mixtape. And like you're saying, everybody's worlds connect, man. And that was a really weird, like, LA to Montreal to Ontario connection. Very odd.
Yeah. And it caught me off guard a little bit. So tell the people a little bit about your vision for entertainment companies once the governments of our various places let us play nicely legally again.
Dude, I'm already starting, like, since we had our conversation about that, I started looking more into the local scene. Like, I want to find out, like, more, like, what rappers are surrounding me so that, I can at least find, like what surrounds me, what I can build off of, if there's a roster, what the roster could consist of, how sketchy are these people? No sketchy folks allowed. Like that's a big brand, like boom stamped right on it. No sketchy fuckers allowed. So like I ain't in this shit to get robbed. I've been robbed. I ain't doing hip hop. So let's cross that one off the fucking board right now.
Oh boy.
Uh, like I really want to just like kind of, especially if you're gonna be in play with it, like go kind of like the Montreal to like my area, like where I am in Southern Ontario is a very big
I
college university area with shows that just go on like no tomorrow. Like La Coca Nostra was one of those ones I was saying. They came through one of those weird like little Waterloo bars out here, man. They came through and they did a wicked set. I missed it. I am very pissed that I missed it. It's one of those things where like my live show, sometimes I find out about shit too late, and that's what I'm really trying to change by contacting the people that are a big part of the area and what I do here, and kind of get the knowledge off of them as well. Like I don't want to be the person that's always sitting there trying to figure stuff out in the dark. One thing I really do like is
Shout out next to
consulting.
Paulo for the follow. I feel like I earned that follow because he was like a little earlier, like, we'll see how this goes. And I respect that about you, next to Paulo.
Dude, yeah, man. Next Apollo's here for the long grind. But like another big thing, like with what I want to do is like kind of start like at least in the future once I figure this out, like like a concert hall, like something like that, where we can book the shows, we can control the lineup,
And
and then
then
kind of build off
what's
and
really
go.
next important is that we take that live feed or whatever the fuck you're doing, blend it with the internet, and bring it into virtual reality at the same time. I'm just gonna add that to the table.
Dude, I'm gonna trip. Like I said, I've never done virtual reality. I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna trip when I put that headset on, dude.
I'm gonna be real.
I've
When I
never done.
bring up VR, I think people misunderstand it a little bit. It's not like as a consumer. It's as the infrastructure to create the content and distribute live experiences to the consumer. Frankly, we wouldn't necessarily be wearing the damn helmets in my utopia because we'd be fucking rapping and shit. But cameras would be picking us up in the room. Like they have the fucking, it's like you need like 30 fucking cameras in a room. Then you get the Lil Nas X fucking suits. Like I don't know if you ever got those ads, but they used to come in my way and they're like 1,500 per. And then you wear that shit. Then you get Coder Unity motherfucker who knows how they do that shit to take the mapping of that whatnot, attach on the avatar which has been photorealistically created. Now you're gonna broadcast that into a virtual environment, upon which you leverage AR technology in that room in order to fucking see the audience and shit. That's the future to me. Meanwhile, you have motherfuckers in real life in the room, but everybody could pull up the app and see the fucking avatars. And then the avatars could see like photorealism of like the fucking shots of the people in the
Oh,
screen. Then people in the real life would see like a screen in the back and it would show them like a mirror image of what's going on the other side. Like that's the type of shit that we gotta be getting on. That's what I mean when I say VR. I don't fucking care about the games. That's the boring
dude,
shit.
that's wild. I know I've heard it before, but I've never heard it like vocally. When you hear it vocally, it's fleshed out a lot different. It makes
Like if the
a
right
lot more
people come
sense.
together, bro, imagine a music video in a 3D environment. But now when you're performing your live set, the music video is triggered to perform around you.
Yeah, true. That would be some crazy, crazy green screen shit.
It's like beyond green screen. It's like straight up almost video game design.
Well, shit. I gotta find somebody that knows how to do that.
I mean, to be fair, I'm like trying to. My brain is a little bit too far in the future, and I got to get reeled back into the present. But in the meantime, it's really as simple as taking your live feed wherever it is and making sure you put whatever IRL shit you do now has to go on Twitch. Like if you do a live
Yeah,
show, it's got to go on Twitch, and if it's on Twitch, you get a man's who sits in the VR room, and his job is in the VR room to greet people while the Twitch plays, and everybody else is out there doing the other shit. And then that should be sufficient to grow an audience in VR now, so that when meta goes mainstream, shit's already in motion. Because otherwise, it's like, what? We all
true,
gonna
true.
wait till like everybody that's rich did it?
Yeah, that's true. Like, I definitely want to. It would be wild. That would be something that I would love to be a part of. I want to get that. Like, we'll attack that live show as well. Once our government stops keeping y'all at home and keeping me at home, like
Do you guys have
for everybody
curfews?
else.
No, yeah, yeah. Are you guys? Do you guys have stores open on Sunday?
I think so.
Mm, that's
Yeah, I
lucky.
think so. Do you
No, not at the moment.
guys?
Not really.
No
No.
stores
I
on
think it's. I don't
Sundays.
know if there's an end date for our curfew, but we have curfew again, and like stores be like closed on Sunday, and they're talking about vaccination passports for the grocery store, which is like
Dude,
wild, but like expected, but wild to think about as a concept. But then you're like, yeah, but there's delivery, so like you could, because even like the local Metro by me shows up in Uber Eats. Metro's a grocery store. Um,
yeah,
so you're like, oh, say words. So they like stacked this shit up now. They made sure you could get your shit so that they
at
could do
home.
this and make it a real. And I'm like, whoa, that's some big boy moves. Those are big boy
Dude,
moves.
people out there think you're just high as fuck and think I'm high as fuck and
Nah, this
talking
is
about some
all
dystopian shit.
real. Because vaccination rates in Quebec just took a dramatic increase as multiple people signed up for the first dose ever.
Dude, it's like I can't believe y'all got to be home at a certain time. That's like a movie.
Yo, it's like I know I'm streaming today. Like we had to make sure groceries was taken care of. Like we was good earlier today, cause like shit.
True.
I'm sure the stores close at 9:30, and by like I don't know what time it is for y'all, but it's 9 now. Um, and by 10
Yeah.
o'clock, the entirety of everything is locked down unless you got the paper that says you're allowed out. Now, are people respecting
Whoa,
that? I don't know. But I'm not brave enough to go out there past
whoa.
curfew. I'm not one of those people. I'm more of an internet motherfucker talking about it.
Dude, that's crazy, man. Holy shit.
It's wild. Like
Yeah, dude, y'all gotta be, whoa. You gotta present papers that say you're allowed out of the house.
past 10 o'clock at night and five. Cause yo, like let's say you have one of those jobs. Like you're a Uber Eats guy.
Oh, true, true,
Like
true, true, true.
you gotta have like a paper. So yeah, cause like last time they did this, as Bonnie just said, like the first, cause yo, it was like 5 months, and it was mostly 8 o'clock, and then like 10 o'clock, or it was like, okay, now we're letting you have a couple hours of outsideness, but it was like 5 months of wild. So I'm not like hopeful this shit. But meanwhile, my work's like, yo, come back to work in February, 2 days a week, bro. And I'm like, this is weird. I'm not saying any one of these people is being weird individually. I'm saying
But
being
all of
alive
it,
in these times is weird.
yeah,
Super
man.
weird.
Especially because, yeah, like I'm saying, other people listening, they won't understand that, like, this is the truth. That, like, for some reason, like, they're down there, like, having festivals and stuff, and you're at home and you can't leave past 10.
Bro, I've been watching motherfuckers get booked in Ontario, and I'm like, you fucking crossing the border? Ford said no. And I'm like, all respecting that shit, which is maybe not to my advantage, but like, in general, I have not violated many COVID rules. I've only violated a few. Um,
Yeah.
and I tried my best to like not go and do super bait shit once it got really scary with curfews and shit. But like, yeah, I don't know. I see it like Ontario be a little more lit, a little more active, a little more fun.
Yeah, man. Just until, like, our fun right now is that we can go out at 10:01. Like, that's not, that's when our fun really begins,
Woo!
dude.
But that's fun.
When 10:01,
You don't.
when it hits,
It's like you don't.
nothing's open.
But you can be outside, bro. You know, technically, in a lot of
Mhm.
places, you can't smoke weed inside.
True, dude. Like, imagine, like at 10:01, I can legally, like, lick a tree.
Bro, it sounds better than it like should, but like you gotta understand, like once it's
I
taken
know.
from you, you're like, huh, gosh, I'm not feeling it yet. But let's say this shit runs till March or something, bro. By the time it's like
He'll
nice
be
out
like,
at like 8 o'clock, and I'm like,
I
bro,
wanna lick a tree. He'll be like, I just want to lick a fucking tree at 10:01. You goddamn commie bastards! You can let me lick a tree.
this is kind of where it gets to. I know it's kind of
Eventually,
weird,
like,
but like, yo, sometimes you gotta cope with that shit. Like, this is actually actual factual reality of what it's like in Quebec right now. I don't know where you at in the world, but that's some Quebec shit right there.
I don't think I don't think we've ever had a time. Like, I don't think we've had, capacity limits. We've had, like, obviously, like, your quarantines, where if you're sick you can't go out, but we haven't had, to my knowledge, like, I'm high all the time, man, but to my knowledge I don't think we've
I
ever
don't
had
think
a
you ever
time.
did. My homeboys in Toronto, we've been kind of like comparing notes over the course of it.
Man, we've never had a time. We've always had like a, set of rules, but yeah, man, I could lick trees at 10:01 the entire pandemic.
All I know is I got to go to a couple of live music events. One of them was more above ground, one of them was super underground, and maybe I shouldn't have been there, but it was fire stills. Um, like those two events, and then like the world got taken away, and I'm like, ah. Yo, I'm almost like it's like, yo, somebody's coming in, like Conway the Machine's coming to Montreal. Everybody would be copping tickets, and like a week later, it's like curfew's coming, my friends. Vaccination passports to go to the SAQ, which is the only way you can cop booze, right? So now that's live, I think, as of the 18th or something. So as of the 18th, you need to be vaccinated to buy alcohol at the liquor store on some real shit. And I'm like, look, like I don't even know if I'm for or against this shit. What's up, EZLD? Because personally, like I'm vaccinated. I'm gonna get the booster. It is what it is, bro. I plan on being in public. It's like I'm just gonna do it. But like the fact that the government be acting like this is wild. It's kind of weird. But like it's also, is it right?
Yeah,
Is it wrong? I don't fucking know. But it freaks me out a bit.
it's kind of weird just because, like, yeah, whether, if you want to do it or you don't, like, it's just kind of weird that you have to, just to get, like, simple stuff done during the day.
That's what it's gonna be. Like if you want to have any semblance of real life, and yo, just keep in mind, precedents being set where I'm at. It's coming to you, everyone. Coming to a place near
Yeah, dude,
you.
enjoy your damn freedom. Fucking time curfews are coming here next in Ontario.
I don't know.
People in the States don't understand, man. People in the States don't get it. No, I hope
Bro,
it doesn't come
when
back
I went to
in
New
here.
York City, it was fucking wild, right? Like, cause like there nobody wore masks, or like a lot. Okay, you knew where you could wear a mask, and you knew where you had to wear a mask. Sorry, you knew where you had to, and you knew where you could just not. And like there'd be like signs in like fucking places that were like masks are optional, and I'm like, I haven't been in a store without a mask on. I know, I don't care. It felt so good. And that was like, it was wild to walk into
Jordan
stores without
Freeman.
masks, bro. Like, you don't even know. Like, it sounds wild that I'm like reveling. Oh my God, I went shopping and there wasn't a mask on. Because I went in today and I'm fucking blind in the store because the glass is fogging, having to like
Yeah,
stop, take my glasses off, try and defog them a bit, but it's not even like the air, it's the temperature. It's like frozen to
yeah.
hot, and you're like, oh, anyway, I'm done ranting about this shit, but
Dude, my favorite part is some days when I wake up, like, I'll do a stretch of days where I don't go into a store, I don't do anything like that. And then my high ass will just walk in and just start walking around, man. And everybody's looking at me. I'm like, yo, what is up with these people? And I'll be deep in the store and I won't have a mask on. And then I'm like, oh shit, yeah, that's a thing. And so I like dig in my pockets, fucking whip that shit out, smack it on. Everybody's staring at me like, look at this guy. What the hell's he doing?
we got a sign on our door that says, "Don't forget your mask," and it's a real sign that we keep that shit on the door so that you go, oh yeah, because it works. Sometimes you forget your mask and then you miss your bus or whatever, and
Yeah.
it's not good times. Um,
Especially if it's like a common place to me, I'll whip the door open, fucking storm in. I'll be like, no, y'all, it's good. And then everybody's like, your mask, your mask. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, slam that shit on.
yeah, no, but it's like, I don't know. It's gonna be a strange future, but I definitely think it means that whatever we do, the one thing I can say about the live scene, I know a lot of people are like, yo, the live scene hottest shit in the world. There's like facts, but yo, there's a lot of people that never liked it, and now they have options like Twitch, and they're never going back. So
Yeah.
like the total population of people that will ever be interested in the live scene outside of college age has dropped. That's like a real thing in terms of low end shit. Cause yo, people be finding alternatives now. Everyone's had like 2 years to develop habits and hobbies and like things where now you have choices of what you're gonna do on a Friday night. And then the virtual realm just has to be included. Like I don't know. I can't emphasize that enough. It almost lets you create a festival on like the cheap.
Yeah, yeah. Dude, there's gotta be a way to combine both. Nice camera at a live show, nice camera with a nice mic at a live show, so everything ain't too booming for it. Stream that shit to Twitch for an entrance fee that's something like an eighth or a sixth of an actual ticket price, so that it's ain't the experience, but at least you
You
get
can
to
just like
be there the
do
whole
that
time.
shit. Like like even Facebook will let you do that. Put like a link
Yeah,
to a ticket pro or whatever. Yo, world's wild. But the other part about it is that some people, including I think a lot of those people that sent you music videos and shit, because yo, the first time I saw one of your festivals, and I'm like, did I fuck up? What the fuck did everybody send this man? Everybody's all polished and engineered, and I'm like, fucking dying on the mic because I'm like not in shape at all, and I was super sloppy that first one.
that's what we want more of, dude. We want more of the stuff that's like that. Like we want to get away from the stuff that's so polished, so polished.
But
Like
it's like a lot of people be doing crazy shits, like whole careers where they go from like fucking super polished whole live shows and everything. But like I guess even without the live show, like they able to just have an entire career without the live show. Like if you look at what's happening in band Twitch, like because music Twitch is broken up, I guess, into the various genres. But if you got like a little guitar and you go bling and you know like 18 tunes people fuck with, and you got your originals, bro, you was guaranteed like a couple hundo a month. It's almost guaranteed at
yeah,
this point. It's not guaranteed if you're a rapper unless you're freestyling for words. What I mean is if you're a rapper and your Twitch chat becomes like a source of words for people, you can make hella bank freestyling on Twitch. It's weird to me because it's not my favorite kind of content, but like that's what's hot. I can't tell people what's hot or not. Like my cousins be all into that shit. They're like, "Oh, it's the hottest shit ever." I'm like, "Okay, it's not my favorite." But like that's what's hot. And I realized there's these lanes on Twitch. But you gotta realize these are now rev sources. Motherfuckers are paying rent. They're like, yo, do I need stolen gear no more? Nah, B. Not everyone, but a percentage. Now what happens is all these little percentages add up. The live game is never gonna be the same. And that's why it's like I don't know where it goes. But I just want to make sure people know that I thought about that shit. And that's like, like it's gotta be just taken in. Plus this shit. I don't think a lot of bars have fully accounted for weed. I was holding a
Dude, that's
moonshine.
why you have the ones with the outdoor venues and stuff. Like the indoor venues, you got to do like like a little smoke break, even like account for that kind of stuff. Because everywhere here it's legal, right? Like down in the states, their live team is crazy because they've only had like during their breaks, like their breaks haven't been like ours, you know what I mean? Where it's been months and months and months. Like they've had like maybe like 8 weeks, 6 weeks, but it's different areas. So people are still touring in different states. They're just avoiding the ones that they can't, comply to the restrictions or whatever like that. It's that's why like the Canadian we got to get back there. But like the states, it's weird to see because like and then like one state will close down while the other one's been open, or while the other one's been closed for like 6 months or like 6 weeks. Sorry, now it's open again, and then you just have like this weird rotation where artists are still doing like full tours, but they just have to cancel like 1, 2 shows out there. It's a lot weirder than up here, where like up here you have like the gamble. You're like, oh shit, is this show gonna happen? And that's the worst thing. The worst.
Another thing with the states, though, in general versus Canada, is that it's super hard to replicate the geography lottery that they do have in general. So, like, Arruda resigned. So that's big news for Quebec. In case y'all don't know, Arruda is our health minister person, and
Oh, good.
that's like having the Fauci resign.
Yeah, that's some
Um,
good stuff.
but yeah, basically, so like on top of what you're saying, it's like Canada, we can't replicate that. Like we can sort of micro replicate it, but like on a big city level, because like these people are gonna be going to like sizable populations. I've been talking to American artists and stuff, and it's like you got like Boston and like fucking all these other places. Like everything in Fallout is kind of near each other, in like the Washington. Like,
Yeah,
all these things are like really like you fit all that between Montreal and Toronto. That's like a lot
that's why
of. Sorry.
Canadian tours they happen in like kind of spurts from what I've been seeing. You'll have a spurt where it'll be like if you hit all the provinces across like east to west, west to east, whichever way you go, you really capitalize on like kind of booking it that you'll have multiple Vancouver shows because Vancouver has multiple different spots. It's great for hip hop. Then as you move, kind of more towards where what we're doing over here on the eastern front of Canada, that's more like like those in between provinces from Vancouver and Ontario, like like your Manitoba, the Saskatchewan, Alberta, that kind of shit. Like those ones you hit like if you're gonna do like a Friday, Saturday, or like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you do those like one show in one province and then hit the next province for one city. Like you don't stick around
Yo,
in
but like,
those
what up? Like,
provinces
bro,
in
that shit is
between.
so far compared to other places.
Yeah, man.
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
why.
Like you could
That's
hit
why if
some
you're
of these
Canadian,
things like 3 hours drives apart in the states, where like for us it's like 8 to 10 hour drives apart for the same
yeah,
like
man. That's
thing.
why if it's Canadian, you want to be doing like you either want to be doing as smaller, you want to be doing Ontario, and you want to be doing you want Vancouver, you want nothing in between because nothing in between there really is going to help you. Like it's not there's not scenes big enough for you to hit unless you can book like the same city multiple different venues like throughout the same city, but then you have like you have to hit people that are unique because not one person is going to spend 3 tickets worth of shit over a weekend. So that's why those cities become kind of null. Like you want to hit a full Canadian one when you're big enough to fly in between and you can kind of doze off in between the
So
the
that's it.
cities that
It's like
are like province to
how do you
province.
like bridge that gap, right? How do you go from like one to the next? That's why I'm saying the internet has to be there. Because the one thing the internet's done for me is it got me interviews with people I didn't have to fly out here and I didn't have to fly to them, and that unlocked a lot of doors for me. So I'm like, oh, say
Yeah,
word.
man.
Even like the musically dude, like fucking down in the states, no, like Texas or some shit, like somewhere like far, and like that's never gonna have happened in a world where we have to deal with travels. So like you can have
Dude, but
fans
that's
from places that are just wildly not where you are, and leverage that, and you could basically perform out of rooms with small fucking
oh yeah.
audiences, and I see that being like a hella lucrative market because it'll give you that fix. You'll have like 50 people in the room, but you're planning for 50 people in the room. That's the goal. So it's like, not like a sad thing to see 50 people in the room. And
Yeah,
then the
no,
internet's just the rest of it.
dude, it's gonna be a combination of both for sure. Because like for Canadians, one thing that we would have to kind of do is build like from here either a willing connection with a cheap flight to Vancouver, or from us to you, and then the southern states right below us, like stuff that is a very very close box, build a diamond of cities, build like that kind of a thing. Because right close to the border as well, like Niagara, Buffalo, like that's an area as well,
Yeah.
like a ton of areas like that. Do you kind of build like a little diamond, meet the artists in those areas, build up like a connection online, and then doing like a show, like a few shows up in the, like the little university circuit we have here, just doing one or two things in Montreal, do that, get some stuff going, and
Well, with
then
Montreal,
whatever.
like you'd honestly just look at small town Quebec the same way, like small town Ontario. Like I'd hit Sherbrooke. Fuck, I don't know. I don't even know if Quebec City's viable. I've never really thought about it, but Quebec City's got 500,000 people. There's gotta be a few people that would fuck with English. I don't know. And then like cause I know Homeboy, and Homeboy basically did the Northern Quebec circuit. And man, they doing things now. And I watched them back when they was like way back, and all they did was like, bro, they're telling you like these small towns in Quebec ain't nobody come up there. So when they hear Montreal, they there, and you pull in like
Yeah,
200 people every show because there's nothing else happening until you come back.
yeah, man, and that's the thing. And like we obviously don't have the hip hop scene, for local artists the way that some large American cities do. Like up here, you have to be from certain little areas, like Toronto, follow a certain style. Be out in Vancouver, follow a certain style. Out there, it's more lenient, though. I find there's a lot more like cool lyricists I like, out east, out west, than there is, in the middle provinces. But it's it's it, it's doable, and that's what it is. Like you're saying, like those guys doing it, like you got to just have like you got to know like where it is, like what are some halls that have like when it's acts that when you look them up and you see what acts have been there previously, and the acts aren't very big but they continuously have like a decent turnout to at least come back. And you check, then you're like, holy shit, like this might be a place that if something's happening Friday night, Saturday night, it looks like people might just be rolling in, like a local hub that people have just for a certain amount of years. Like we've had a few of those around here. They closed before COVID, not during COVID. They were when our local metal scene, that's what it was. Like our local metal scene here was huge, and like the shows going on were crazy. But then like some of the bands just slowly died out, and that's where like there's a scene here that I don't see the local thing happening, and it's before it was fucking huge. And so it's one of those things where like I think it's just waiting for that injection of what it wants and what it needs, and then it gets vibrant again. Like I know that hip hop, local hip hop in Guelph, in Kitchener, I know that there's like big artists that come through here and use like the artists around here as openers and whatnot. So kind of trying to find those artists, trying to find which ones are within our threshold, and building from there even is a big one, because obviously if they're opening for somebody that is big, they have the connections in the area to at least know more artists where we can hopefully put on a show with, like I said, rule number one stamped: I don't get robbed, no sketchy people.
I love that
I
rule.
hate sketchy.
That's an interesting rule. I wish the best of luck in that rule. I don't know how to avoid sketchy people in life. If I knew the secret to avoiding sketchy people, my life would probably be farther along.
Dude, you hear that gut feeling, man. And if you get that gut feeling, 10 times out of 10, it's right. I've not trusted that gut feeling before. I just ended up like out of hundreds of dollars and shit like that. And then like I trust my gut feeling, and like your
Well, the
friend
thing
doesn't
is
trust
it's
your
like
feeling.
phishing link scams. You're all good until the time you're not. And then you click the link, and then you're making the post. Hey guys, my Instagram got hacked. If you get somebody hitting you up with the crypto, it's not actually me. At this point, everyone out there, we all know. We all know that if we're getting the crypto link, you got hacked. You don't need to tell us at that
I
point.
know. Like, you just come back, make your regular posts, hopefully, or just be like, hey, here's
Nah,
my
man,
new
they're like
account.
locking people out. Like you just gotta come with a new account. Like that account's deaded for 90 days is what I, because it happened to homegirl, and it got deaded for like 90 days. Like Instagram won't intervene, and it's all automated and shit.
Yeah.
So it's like real deal shit. And then they have access to like everything in your account. It's actually kind of scary when it happens. I'm just saying, if I'm getting crypto pictures, I'm aware you got hacked. It just, I know at that point your account is compromised. I should mute it and report it and let you know on some other platform, because that's what happens now. And I know everybody knows 5 people that this happened to right now.
Dude, for some reason, everybody knows at least 5. That's a good number because it happens to everybody. You just open your Instagram one day and there's a new car, there's a Mercedes, there's a house, and there's 15 or 16 grand, and you're like, okay, it happened.
Like, yeah, that doesn't make sense. Or like somebody will hit you up and I'm like, you've never talked to me before. Ooh,
And now you want 2 grand.
you sent me a picture. Ooh, do you want an NFT? No, I don't want your. Like it's just like it's a weird time. Social media has evolved into a weird place. That's why it's like it's also like the random stance of me ending up in this group chat with you and this all working out. That's not how it normally goes in group chats. I'm gonna be frank with y'all. Group chats
Nah,
decay
man.
into nothing real quick in my experience.
And that's why, like, a lot of what I do, I keep hearing in my experience, it doesn't work. And that's why I'm glad, like, keep, trekking forward with everything I keep doing works out. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of effort. Sometimes, scenarios, it is a lot of money we've invested. One of the cornerstones for the label was buying out a producer that we originally worked with. We bought out his entire catalog for a hefty amount, but it's all exclusive. There was no, premium licenses, no weird licenses, all exclusive licenses and shit. And that was, the real, because how could we, really ask people to come join us without
Beats.
at least showing that we had something to offer, because we can't, advertise to rappers, hey, we can wait about, a few weeks until we get producers and then we can make your album. We had to have something right up front, like, hey, we can produce your album right away, like 100%. We'll pay for it. We'll get your album produced. We'll bring engineers on board, and that was, the big thing. Thankfully, we had producers come on board really quickly. Like one of the early ones was Steezy, the guy that's one of our leads. Same with the barber. So it was like it was a quick turnaround for like what I thought it was going to be. But yeah, we bought out that producer to really, be the first step to show that we were going to be legit entering this. That, we weren't going to come in just relying on artist built content, that we were going to at least bring services that people didn't know about. That people, you're looking for, oh, can I use this beat? I don't really want to pay for this exclusive. And we were just hitting you up like, select whatever you want. This is your exclusives. Do with it what you will. Just the only thing we ask is don't use any bars that hella sync the label. That's where we step in. And our limitation for what can sync the label is probably different from what people think nowadays. Like, I'm not going to give an example because that would sink the label. Like, like, obviously, we're talking bad, like fucking like you do dumb shit. You know what cancel culture is. I don't agree with a lot of cancel culture, but you do dumb shit. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. So we're trying to avoid that.
Mm. No, I hear you. I mean, I feel like it's totally fair to have any level of ethical and tone guidelines to your enterprise. That's just how business works.
Yeah, like look, like one of the first songs I referenced in here was like Immortal Technique, Dance of the Devil. Like that's some next level shit. Like that kid, like, I'm not gonna say I don't know what Twitch's limitations are, but that song is deep. That song is dark. We're down for that. Like I'm down for anything that's not, just gonna be like horrifically obviously looking for attention. That's it. If you're just looking for attention off a bar, that's seeking attention. That's label sinking worthy.
I hear what you're saying. You need to be able to defend that shit if somebody comes at you. I hear you.
Yeah, like we hold no creative control over what anybody does. Obviously, you want to dive through our bars as a duo. There is stuff my buddy has said that's probably label syncing in other labels. So like it's underground. I appreciate horrorcore music. Check out some Necro. Listen to Necro, listen to Ill Bill. That shit is something else. Listen to some Skribbal. Listen to some of that stuff. You'll see that like what we play on our radio station, listen to that. It's a good threshold for what we allow, but obviously there's subjects you just don't want to touch on, and that is a very like small list, like very small list.
Everything's about context. You can totally approach any subject if you do it right.
Exactly. If you're
Now,
doing it for just shock value and attention,
not
that's
everything
not
is
gonna.
a good idea though, because you could do it. It doesn't mean you're
Yeah,
gonna get fans off that move though. That's what I think people don't. That's the one thing about cancel culture. Sometimes it's not like you're getting canceled by a system. It's more like
you were dumb.
you read the room wrong, and a lot of loud people on Twitter are canceling you. And
Yeah,
that's my
I
perception
don't
of a
think
lot of
people
cancel
avoid
culture.
that.
Like, look, every time I say that, motherfuckers go and find me every news article in the world they can about these random ass stories where companies clip people for saying dumb shit. I cleaned my Facebook, bros. I can say this out there. For over a year, I went on memory of the day and I deleted all the dumb shit. Everyone can do this. There's a solution. I don't know what else to tell you. The world's wild. But most companies, I think, are not giving into that. Like my company, I can't give details, but because I'm the social media guy, we get the Facebook weirdos. And there was a situation where the HR's official policy was, nah, we are not cancel culture. And so that's more what happens. Nobody ever talks about how most companies actually empower free speech and shit. Instead, people like focus on these random ass Twitter people and like fucking extreme examples of Joe Blow Schmo's random rape joke. And it's like,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, like, look, I've
I
gone
mean,
down that conversation with a lot of people. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm saying if you run any kind of statistical analysis, it basically doesn't exist. And when it happens to celebrities, they all get richer.
yeah. No, and that's it, man. Like, check out horrorcore. A lot of that, like, saying there's limitations always makes it sound like you'll present a bar to us and we'll be like, no, bad, get rid of that.
Nah, I
There's
think,
like a there.
but
I
like
don't
it's
ever
it's
think
kind
it's
of
gonna
like in
happen.
line with your "Don't Get Me Robbed." Like if you walking in and throwing up like some drill shit, where you speaking out of pocket about actual people that might roll through your neighborhood, that would sink your label.
Exactly.
Like there are some shit out there like where you're like listening and you're like, I'm never gonna karaoke this song. I'm never gonna sing this in public.
Exactly.
This is a private Holden song. Nobody, like some of this stuff is wild, and so like you just got to know your role in life, like. And then chances are, if that's the role that like it all makes sense, he's not rolling with shoes. Like I get what you're saying. It's all about coming with stuff, but I mean, if you all in that horrific imagination Rob Zombie horror flick brought to bars land, you all good. That's fair.
Yeah, man. That's where there's limitations, but there's no limitations at the same time. Creative control is a big thing. Like everybody should have it. There's no, just make love songs, just make happy songs, just make pretty songs like that. That would kill people.
I would love to have this conversation with you in 5 years when you've had a fuck ton of data on what works and what doesn't, and then you're like coming at this a little differently. Is my thoughts, maybe.
Like, so yeah, it's 2027. We only make happy songs. We only make beautiful
You're
songs.
like, bro, we made $7 million off of this child song that some guy did, and fuck that. We make jingles for fucking kid show, and you're like, say words,
Yeah, I
sync.
ruined entire artists' careers. I made them jingle artists.
Yo, man, this is where the sync money's at, though. I've been learning about sync money a little bit, and sync money is some next level money. It's like you could sell a song for like 5 racks, and I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay, how am I gonna sell my music now? And now that's like
That's
the
definitely something to check out. Holy crap!
nah, like the sync money, like because I ended up on a random webinar call, and I found out that my songs are not appropriate for Canadian television, but they totally good for HBO and a lot of other shit. So like we're not off the table. Just if you rap about things, chances are you might not be good for Canadian television unless you're doing some super
Yeah.
safe shit. But then if you look into stuff that would like license your kind of music and find the right agency and work with the right people and you get the right contacts and you find the right person that's looking for your song, you can sell that shit to video games,
Oh yeah.
to movies, to all the people. You never know. That's money.
And it's a wild market out there, man. Like video game trailers, be the backing for that, be the little cuts in that. It's a weird world,
Yo, it's
man.
weird. I used to go from like I want to tour stadiums too. I want to be in a movie and motherfuckers hear me. Like just I'm the cut scene. The pivotal cut scene is my shit.
You do that, and that'd be crazy. And it's entirely possible. That's the cool thing. It's just about finding the right
Well,
finding
hold
the
on.
right
It's only entirely
connection.
possible, from what I understand, if you don't fuck with samples. If you use samples, it's
Yeah,
way like good luck.
it costs them a lot more.
No, I mean like sync people don't like that. The TV
Yeah,
people.
no, because if the movie company uses it, they got to go clear that sample, and then that's money out of their pocket unless you're gonna pay it for them.
And
Then the
you're
production
not
company's like,
paying up
"Fuck
for
this."
them. I
Yeah, they're
promise.
like, I really love this song, but I'm not clearing this sample.
Nah, so it's like it's important if you are gonna go to sync game to not do the shit where homeboy grabs a thing off of YouTube and flips the beat, and none of that is like
All
you own the
original shit.
masters to basically mixtapes at that point. It's kind of like what it is in
Yeah.
like a legal front. Like I don't know, like I don't treat any of the mixtapes I released in the last year as like real music I own like that. Like I have music I own like that because mans can pull up the project files if we get sued. Like that was always important to me, right? And that's the shit you can sell to TV and whatnot. Is like when somebody
Yeah,
can fucking prove that somebody wrote that shit and you have the rights to use it, not the
yeah,
sample stuff. It doesn't matter how you flip that sample. Somebody finds out one day, somebody can get sued, and that's a
yeah. You're
bad
fucked.
day for you down the line.
Oh yeah, especially if it goes far, man. Imagine selling some shit to HBO and having them flip like a 750 grand like lawsuit, and they just slam it on you. Like you open
Done.
your mailbox, and you're like, "Whoa, what is this?"
But that's kind of like, as I understand, what would happen if you sold some shit with samples in it and you got caught. And people be like, well, if you don't get caught, nah, it's TV, bro. It's a different game. It's not Spotify where you're not going to get caught. It's not YouTube.
Yeah,
It's like a different game. It's the real
somebody,
game.
somebody's watching, somebody's searching, somebody's running that through everything before that episode comes out, or when that episode comes out, somebody's just looking that through like, "Oh, that sounds familiar to a song I know."
Yeah, and then what'll end up happening is there's just a bunch of people on Reddit that are like, bro, I'm going to find every sample and everything. And that's what they do for fun. And that's
Yeah,
then they end up making YouTube videos about that shit. And so like it's just that like it's kind of like if you end up getting successful here, it could hurt you. So I just recommend if you're going down the sync deal game, get some shit you really really own, not some shit you recorded on some beach homeboy made where really nobody owns it because y'all use samples.
yeah, definitely. Because at that point, you're kind of boned. All like samples always bring it, a different angle. But yeah, once you hit TV, that's when the big lawyers are involved. Like in music, the big lawyers are involved, but most of the time you can get away with stuff unless you're like your song explodes. But hopefully, then by the amount of money you made, you can
Yeah.
at least afford lawyers to dumb that down.
Well, it's just from what I understand, people just won't take shit with samples. Like they just be like, it's got
Yeah,
samples in it, I'm out. So like they'll like ask you, they'll give you like the does this have samples? Don't even fucking play me, boy. And then
all the copy. Yeah,
but no, it's really, and I don't mean it like, because I know aesthetically, a lot of people I personally know anecdotally do this shit, and they invest a lot of time in that, and I just like question the long term wisdom in it. Like my like two main albums that I have, I just know 100% of that shit A to Z, I own the copyright, 100% A to Z.
yeah,
Whereas, like, I don't know that everybody really knows that when they be talking their indie artist. I want to, that's the thing with the labels. Like, a lot of the anti label people are also the same people that might be independent artists that don't know anything about the game. I'm talking about my past self. Y'all can wear the shoe if it fits, but like, they be like not knowing anything about anything. They don't understand um, I guess like any of the real business elements that go into it, the marketing plan, the branding, how merch works, all the pieces. Like I had the last year of my life was like, oh, those are all the things I sucked at for the last 9 years. That's why my career went nowhere. And now it's like I'm putting these pieces together and my career is like moving. And it's like, oh, say
Yeah,
word. Look at that. I'm doing it. Like, but like that's when you start to realize, like, okay, maybe having like some smart choices to make sure I own shit and things like what does that really mean? And then all of a sudden I'm like, say word, labels do a lot of heavy lifting that I don't want to do. And then I started thinking about like the game a lot differently. Do I necessarily want to sign my soul away to a label? No. But am I like opposed to it now? No. I just really have to like what the fuck I'm fucking with and energies and shit. Like it has to be like really like my cup of tea. But I realized as I
yeah,
got into it, everybody I know that's making moves either has big management or a label behind them. Why? Because they don't want to be social media managers. They want to be sitting there practicing their shit and going out there and filming cool vlog shit and like being influencers, not managers.
yeah, man. Having us send your shit around to podcasts and interviews and radio stations to play, because that ups, like anytime we send anything through, we do see like a quick uptick in artist plays. It's pretty cool. Like some of the stuff we send through ends up being like some radio stations, like they're like not every track, but some of them, like one or two, will end up being like one of their most played tracks that we send through. Because like we send through like mostly the stuff that like either we send through a whole catalog of like 30 songs, choose through whatever you want, or if they let us know whichever artist they liked the most out of what they heard, then we just link them like two tracks, like, these are the two you want to play.
Mm.
And then boom, like sometimes those are the ones that rise right to the top of, if it's a local station, if it's an online station. The local stations are really cool, man, because sometimes I try to link up with more ones that are in the area of the artist themselves, and then try to get some local spins. That one's worked once or twice. I really hope it works a lot more this year. Really hope it works a lot more. I
Yeah.
still got a lot to learn. I know a lot about radio, but I still got a lot to learn about that one. And it's crazy, man, like how many people are just driving in cars, like how many people still have like a lot of cars out there, man. Like, people will have their Bluetooth, but they don't want to have their Bluetooth on. They're charging their phone's dead. The radio ends up on in like some way or another, especially during like rush hour. Myself, sometimes I listen to a lot of music, and I don't always have just like even the capacity, man, to even make the decision, like what the hell do I want to listen to now. I just smack the radio on and I just see, is there something out there I haven't heard? Is there something I just want to check out? That I look through features, I look through YouTube videos. Why not the radio as well? I love it, man. I might be like the one in the million there,
No,
but I really, really,
honestly,
really.
all you have to do is actually Google radio stats, which once I did, I shut the fuck up and I stopped saying radio is dead. It's not. Believe it or not, country music is keeping radio alive more than anything else. Talk music's keeping radio alive, and then it's all the rest of the shit you would expect. But this is talk radio right here, baby. That's right, hot shit on the radio. Breakfast Club is what people give a shit about more than the fucking music.
Dude, and that's where like, dude, you can load up an hour. You can go live for an hour. You could be fucking DJ Holden on Immortal Radio, the dude that comes on with live interviews that are scheduled and stuff for an hour here and there, here and there, here and there.
Now, what I'm doing
Dude,
is I'm just saying, oh, you want to air my shit after? Here's the audio file, my guy.
and I think that can happen as well, dude. Like I think we can just like set like the audio file and just set it to play, and then if it cuts off at whatever point, then pick it up later on. Make it this playlist, and it would be like a Holden playlist. Put in whatever episode we want, let it pick up afterwards so it doesn't restart. It'll pick up on wherever it was
And you
left
know
off.
what's wild is you don't even need me for this. You can just go to my Podbean and just download the fucking episodes and just take
True,
them
true,
with my
true.
full consent. And you can just cherry pick. I don't fucking. Because, I realized at a certain point that's what I was doing. And I'm like, oh, that's how podcasts used to work. People used to download these motherfuckers. So I started naming my. They're shittily named. I didn't know until 600 episodes in, you're supposed to name your MP3 files properly when you upload them.
Yeah, man.
Whoops.
That's
But
what I'm telling you about the Twitter. I had way too many tweets in. I had no idea.
yeah, you'll download some shit and it'll be like really poorly named, sometimes mislabeled, possibly, or like because it's the MP3 file that I would upload, right? Like we're not talking about like the name of the episode; it's the file that you
Yeah.
would download. So I didn't know that. It's a tip you should learn if you ever get into podcasting on the networks. Name your MP3 file, right? But technically, you can grab anything you want. Yeah. Anyway, but yo, I appreciate you coming through too. I would love to talk to you more about shit in life. There's definitely more conversations to be had, but I'm glad he came through because he wasn't the regular guest. He's the guy who came and saved the day. He's the new episode 137. The original guy unfortunately got the vid, so he couldn't make it.
I'm glad to be here, man.
So it's
Once I heard there was a second one, I definitely wanted to see if I could step in and help out here. And
nah,
I'm glad that we could book.
yeah,
And
let's go.
definitely, like you're saying, another conversation down the road as well.
Yeah, no, it's cool, man. We can definitely have you come back on. Like to me, this is. I mean, I call it an interview. It's the shittiest interview you're ever gonna watch for 3 hours, as far as conventional interview standards go. But yo, thanks for coming through. You kind of gave us exactly what I hoped for: that marketing game, that fucking business game, that fucking proper shit. Everything else is a ruse to make motherfuckers talk that real shit. And you came through and you delivered, and that's what we love over here. We definitely got them knowledge nuggets, and I'm really happy with how this episode went. All your links are gonna be in the description. We got a little macro and a Twitch that plugs all your stuff. We've been putting that through, so you don't have to worry about being like, follow me at. We got you. It's just there. Um, but for and even on the, I guess for the podcast people, I guess you can say it for them. I realized enigmatic. Can you say it one more time for the people? I get it confused.
Enigmatic electronic entertainment.
Run that shit. Follow that everywhere. Anyway, we're gonna start the raid and all that stuff. Thank you all for coming through. Do you have any last words for the people?
No, man, we'll be back. Check us out at immortalradio.ca. That's exactly how it
Ah,
sounds.
perfect.
IMMORTAL radio, RADIO.ca.
Awesome, man. Thanks again for coming through. To the people out there, live long and prosper.
Long and prosper, everybody. See you later, guys.